You are listening to coverage of Wildcats basketball on ESPN 680 and 105.7. Now, here are your hosts, Mike Gandolfo and Jason Ence.
All right, welcome, Big Blue Nation. Mike Gandolfo here, and we are getting ready for the introductory press conference for one Mark Pope being named the Kentucky basketball coach. I, for one, am a person who is over 35, remembers those teams in the 90s, remembers the Rick Pitino years, just remembers how special Mark Pope being here was with Mark Pope and Tony Delk and Walter McCarty. Jason Ence, how well do you remember those teams?
That team is, and I tweeted this out the other night, that 95-96 team might be my favorite. I'd have to sit down and think about it, but it might be my favorite sports team of any sport, of any team that I support. It was so fun watching that team. And I was 12 years old, 12 years old during that season. And I remember, I had a ton of Indiana fans that were friends of mine because, I lived in Indiana, and they were still good at that time, and that rivalry was still what it used to be. And watching that team just literally and figuratively dunk on everyone and run up the score on everyone and score 86 points in one half against LSU and have more dunks against Morehead State than Morehead State had baskets. It was so fun. Antoine Walker was my favorite NBA player. I became a Celtics fan when they drafted Antoine Walker. I was a Pacers fan because, again, growing up in Indiana, when they drafted agent number 8, as he was known, in the Adidas commercials, that was when I became a Boston Celtics fan for a while.
And then they got Mercer after that.
Pitino and Mercer.
Yeah.
But yeah, Antoine Walker, as he said back in the day, the only reason that he didn't, the only reason he shot so many threes was because they didn't have fours.
That's right. The direct quote is because there ain't no foes. That's that team was very special to me too, especially coming off the 91 team that lost to Leitner, the 92 team. I'm sorry, that lost to Leitner. And I go back and the more and more this settles with me, this hire settles with me. I mean, at first when the announcement came out, I think I didn't have much reaction at all. Actually, I just kind of let it soak in, and I was surprised, I think, by everybody else about how quickly we got to Mark Pope's name. But the more and more I uncover about him, and the more and more that basketball people, I don't really care what media people talk about. You talk about that all the time, right? If the media people like the hire, then that's usually going to be a bad hire. But the basketball people I know, and just how he is just really like a savant with his offensive movement. I mean, you saw a Kelvin Sampson-led Houston Cougar team, and Kelvin Sampson's team, Houston Cougars, might have had the best defense in the country this year. And he was, after their game, their post-game press conference, he was just frazzled about trying to guard these guys and how they use the zoom action and all this other kind of stuff. I mean, one of 6 teams that had shot more threes than twos during the regular season.
Yeah.
Their assist to field goals made was one of the tops in the country. And I'm sitting here like, man, that sounds like everything that we loved watching this year was this team passing the ball, sharing the ball, getting easy buckets around the rim, or getting really good looks at three. And I'm like, sign me up. I know I'm a defensive guy by nature, but if that's the kind of offense we're going to get, specifically because a lot of it has to do with how they read and react screens. And I know he's not going to get into the specifics, I think, of that kind of stuff going into this press conference. He's going to rile the fan base in the only way that I think that, listen, he's a big, goofy white dude, that's about my age. I guess it's a really easy watch for me to get on board, right? It just resonates with me. So I'm really feeling really positive about this move. And I think that there's probably a chance that we don't that we're in the top 3 in recruiting classes every year. We're probably not going to be, because I don't know if that's his dude. But what we're going to get back to is that the name Kentucky means more than the back of the jersey, that we don't just have guys that are going through one season of basketball trying to get to the NBA, that we're going to have guys that are committed to winning at Kentucky. And we might even get guys who stick around for 3 seasons or 4 seasons and supplement that with a transfer portal and a couple of good recruits here and there. Because I think Mark Pope is the kind of guy that, with the resources that he's going to have at Kentucky, is going to be able to win at a high level. I'm all in on it, Ence. I don't know how you feel. How's it settled in with you at this point?
I think I speak for a lot of UK fans on this. I'm not against the hire of Mark Pope as a coach. I'm against how we got to this point. The destination, it's like a trip. If you have a horrible trip to get to a destination, it makes the destination less appealing. It gives you, a bitter taste in your mouth. I used the analogy the other night. It's like the guy who goes to the bar, looks, talks to the 10, talks to the 9, looks at his watch. It's 9:30. And instead of continuing to scout other good options, just immediately settles for the 5 in the corner. And then there's nothing wrong with that, but the 5 in the corner would have been there at midnight. You had time to look at other options that might have been better. Options that either had really good recruits that were already with them that they could have brought, options that might have gotten the fan base more excited, options that overall would have been a better package. When it comes to coaching at Kentucky, when it comes to coaching in general, it's about three different things. It's about recruiting, it's about X's and O's, and it's about leading the program. And you go back and look at our history, Rick Pitino was very good at all three of them. He's probably the best of our lifetime at all three of them. Tubby was terrific at leading the program and outstanding at X's and O's. Recruiting, he was hit or miss at times, but he could coach guys up. We won't even talk about Billy G. But Cal was outstanding at getting the players. He was good the first half of leading the program. He was not good the second half, but X's and O's, he was horrible. Where does Mark Pope land in this? Obviously, looking at, what he's done at BYU, he's obviously been able to do more with less in terms of his talent and results. He went into the Big 12. He was competitive. He beat some really good teams. I think he beat 7 teams this season that made the NCAA tournament. He is a guy who obviously has very good X's and O's. But nobody here can say with certainty how he does in terms of leading at a program like Kentucky, because he's never been at a program like Kentucky in this role. Yes, he played here. Yes, he understands what the fans are all about. But BYU is not a fan base that he's got to go out and pump his chest and be rah-rah. Is he going to be Mark Stoops where it's, all business? It's not. You talk about it all the time, Mike. This job is the biggest fundraiser for UK athletics. You've got to go, or for basketball at least, you've got to be out front and center. Is that his personality? Is he someone who's going to bring in top-notch talent? Because we saw firsthand with Tubby. Tubby won games. Tubby did great on the court. But how many times did we hear, oh, well, we're only getting 3 and 4 stars. We're not getting 5 stars. There is something to the fact that Kentucky fans want to have the shiny toys. They want to have the big name recruits. They want to be able to thump their chest at U of L fans at work and say, look, we had a better recruiting class than you did. So he's going to have to get players. He has shown he can do more with less. But doing more with less and reaching the tournament at BYU and losing in the first round won't be acceptable here. He's got to make Final Four runs. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. He's going to need good talent for that. My biggest concern with this is, will he be able to get enough talent this first year with being so late in the game that he'll be able to satisfy the UK fans who don't remember that 96 team, the generation that you and I were talking about off air that doesn't know what the hell we're talking about when we say the untouchables, doesn't know what we're talking about when we say, nonstop pressing, one of the most entertaining teams that college basketball has ever seen, a team that was so deep that Rick Pitino had to start a JV squad to get them all playing time.
It's going to be interesting to me because I actually don't think that you need to have the top talent anymore to win the national championships. Actually, I think it's in some ways it's working against you. I mean, we're seeing that the last couple of years. The transfer portal talent seems to be way more important than the high school talent that you pull in. We know that UConn had the one. I think you supplement with some top talent. Can he go out and get a McDonald's All-American or two every year? We'll see that. To me, it's going to be about, can he get the right guys that can execute his style of play and buy into the way that they screen and how they move and all that other kind of stuff. If he can do that, I think you can get the like Derek Jasper type recruits and you're going to be just fine. If he can live in that 25 to 60 range in the rankings on the recruit side, but he knows what that person could be and how they can fit, I think he's going to be just fine with that. And at the end of the day, if he wins, it cures all, right? I mean, I think that's the thing. If he wins and he's out, and it seems like he has no issues, being out in public and whatever else, and but yeah, those 96, those mid 90s Kentucky teams with with all the pressing and the Patinos, Bombinos, and the unforgettables, the untouchables, all that stuff was about as much fun as that I've ever had as a Cats fan. And it started actually with that Patino Bombino group coming off of probation, and Derek Miller just them using the 3-ball. I think my bigger concern is what happens. First off, are they going to be able to get and this is where the recruiting to me does matter. Are they going to get the athletes that can defend at a high level for him to be able to do what he needs to do? And are they going to be able to overcome? Because I think we saw it this year with this team. We definitely saw it when Kentucky lost to West Virginia in Cal's first year. If threes aren't falling, what's our backup plan? If you have one NCAA tournament game where your threes aren't falling, what happens then? What do we go to? How do they overcome that? So let's give a real quick just kind of rundown of how today's going to go, because I think they're going to start here pretty soon. The Rupp Arena, by the way, is full. My daughter's there. My parents are there. It's loud. It's rambunctious. The crowd is fired up. That this is really, it's really nice to see, honestly, just to see the welcome home that Pope's going to get. We're getting a couple quotes here. We are streaming online. We're going to take calls immediately after to get your reaction.
We're the only people doing this, by the way.
Yeah.
There's nobody else. There's no who doing a radio show today. This is us.
502-267
on Master Sunday at that.
502-267-9680. Our man James Black is going to be manning the phone lines and going to be helping us out. So as soon as this is over, we'll come back. Ence and I will give our instant reactions to what was said, and we got the text line open, 502-437-9680. I think Ence probably has that up on his phone.
I've got it. I've got that over here.
I'm looking at the social media comments because we're streaming on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. So all that stuff's going on. We got a couple comments right now before we get going. We got a Cards fan here says the 96 team is the best I've ever seen. Even the fugly denim jerseys. Man, can they bring back the denim?
Don't you crap on those denim jerseys.
Delk is still my favorite cat.
And the Converse, don't forget about those either.
All right, Soforo's out there making sure everyone likes and subscribes our YouTube channel so we can continue to give you more and more great content. So
the one thing I will say, looking at the crowd today, looking at people waiting to go in, there's a portion of this fan base that is energized. And again, I understand the people who don't remember those teams, who don't know anything about Mark Pope, the younger generation especially, that is like very hesitant about this hire. I don't know if it's going to succeed. I don't know if it's going to fail. Obviously, I hope it succeeds, very much so. But there is a buyback in from a significant portion of this fan base that would not have been there if we were going in year 16 with Cal.
Hey, James, do you have everything set up and ready to go when they start the audio? Because I think we're getting really close.
I have it all set and ready to go.
Okay, so as soon as James tells us, we're going to go to the audio here. We will not be carrying the video on the streaming platforms, just FYI. But like I said, if you want to go watch the actual video, come back to us, and we'll be taking all your comments and questions and getting everyone's. Go ahead.
A couple things. Keith Taylor, who by the way has been out front on this stuff from the jump. He's done a very good job as a capital J journalist out of Berea. He said Travis Perry is at the press conference. So
awesome.
I think it's safe to say he's not going anywhere. UPS Jobs text line 437-9680. Texter says, U of L fan here. I think both hires could be great, but it is the process of how each school ended up with their choice that's frustrating. Texter says, Mitch has been scouting for more than a year. Texter says, got to give Pope 10 years. I don't know about that now.
I'll tell you what, though, one thing that you can't make light of is the fact that he's had to deal with roster upheaval, with them having those mission trips in the middle of everything like that. And I mean, there's some unique things that BYU job. And I know, and I agree with you that the pressure to win at BYU might not be the same, but that is a rabid fan base. That is a very underrated fan base. I remember I had friends of mine who By the way, if you want to see it, one of the places you can
heads
go.
up, the press conference has been delayed. They are waiting on over 5,000 people that are still in line.
Oh my gosh.
We might be here a while.
I'm getting a question of who has video. I'm watching on the UK Athletics website. That's where my video's pulled up. Just FYI, if you
yeah, and that's where we're going to pull the stream from as well.
Yeah. I'm telling you.
Yeah, apparently there are 5,000 people that are still trying to get in, so it might be closer to 5 o'clock before this thing gets going.
Yeah, we'll see how. You mentioned Travis Perry being there. Let me go back to my BYU fan base comment. That is a fan base that is very much into their university, right? So, Liberty University they hosted BYU and Virginia Tech a couple years ago in the same football season. And one of my friends who had season tickets to Liberty, he's like, "Well, I can't wait to try to sell this to Virginia Tech fans." So I was like, "No, you're looking at the wrong fan base. You want to be selling those things to BYU fans." And he said that the BYU fans showed up like no other to that game at Liberty. And at the same time, like that is exactly what you got. I mean, you got a BYU fan base that is very supportive of their programs. Definitely doesn't have the same pressure that he has at Kentucky, but the eyeballs are on him. But you mentioned Travis Perry being there. I don't think there's a single person who benefits more from this hire than Travis Perry. Because of the way he can score, he is going to be a great fit in Mark Pope's system. So it's going to be fantastic. Benjamin Hess saying Big Rig, and Big Rig is still definitely not here. So
no, Big Rig has baseball today.
Yeah, he's got priorities. We're here for the fans. Big Rig's there for his family. No, I'm there for my family too. I had to take care of all that stuff beforehand. I'm glad my wife's not listening, hopefully. So that portion of the fan base that you think is fired up, do you think it's guys like me, huh? Is that what you're trying to get to?
I mean, yeah. No, I mean, you watch the videos, you look at the photos. There's a certain age demographic. I'm not saying that you're old. I'm just saying that you might fall in that age demographic. It's the people that might have kids that are going to UK.
Yes.
Do you fall in that demographic?
I did. My daughter did get the voicemail on her cell phone. So,
I did not. I'm kind of disappointed.
You did not? Why would you have gotten the voicemail? Because you were not a UK
I used to have season tickets for football. I feel like that should have gotten me on the list at least.
Well, that was what I guess was a little concerning. So, like talking to my daughter, she's like, "Yeah, they use the alert system like they would if there was like a problem on campus. Like if there was
no.
Yeah, that's how they get. That's how they reached everybody.
No, don't. God no.
Yeah, that was it. So, all right. Let's see here. I'm going to increase my volume. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, they're going to have audio, I guess, once we get started, James. That's what's going on there. So I wouldn't fret about it just yet.
All right, cool.
It's going to be a while before they get it all.
Yeah,
Rock Oliver just showed on the screen, by the way. Rock Oliver comes to Kentucky with that Patino. He stays on at Kentucky right now with the football staff and the strength and conditioning for the football staff. But Patino's who brought him there. He knows Mark Pope really, really well. That's another thing. It's like this is a guy to me, embraces his goofiness and whatever else, but has always been someone who has been kind of overlooked, maybe underestimated. And I kind of like that from our coach a little bit too. Like, the one thing that I'm not excited about though is it seems like UK and U of L both hired very nice guys, right? So like, I don't know if we're going to get the shots that we normally would have gotten with the rivalry, especially if they both get back
we're not.
Yeah.
Have you seen the stuff that that Pope did with horns down and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, is he going to throw people out for doing L's down?
Probably not.
Like,
he won't throw them out.
Like, he threatened to have people thrown out of the student section at BYU if they were doing horns down.
We're getting a report from on someone watching on YouTube. There's 20,000 people in Rupp right now. So I know that they weren't set up like that. Like when my daughter got in there, said, I know they kind of got on the end zones, and they still had a whole lot of people to get in there after that. So I'm getting Italian gangsters.
So because we're going to be delayed a bit, we're going to go ahead and open up the phone lines per request from above.
Okay.
So 502-267-9680. Go ahead and call in if you want to share your thoughts while we wait for this press conference to start, which again, it may be 5 o'clock at this point. I'm trying to see if anybody's put out.
We got almost 1,000 people
an
watching
official
online.
Time. And by the way, you've got all the people there. You've got 22,000 people that are watching just on the UK Athletics website, and I'm pretty sure they're streaming it on Twitter and other platforms as well.
So this is something that the Big Blue Nation is. It seems like they're embracing. So that's fantastic. Do you give any shot to Reed Sheppard coming back?
No. Look, I'd love it. I would absolutely love it. All it takes is one bad landing, and his career, as he knows, is over. And with the amount of money that is on the table to go to the NBA and get that first-round lottery pick contract, you cannot risk that. There's not enough insurance in the world. Next year's draft class is expected to be stronger. The only thing that could come from him coming back is to worsen his draft stock. You get more film on him. He's a year older. He's got more mileage on the legs. You potentially go from shooting almost 50% from downtown, almost having a 50, 40, 90 season, to potentially playing much worse. There's no guarantee he comes back and thrives in this system. There are so many negatives, and the positives are what? To come back and win a national championship and to fulfill the legacy. There's no guarantee of that. So, I mean, as much of a hero as he would be, as much of a great story as it would be, as awesome as it would be for us fans, his parents would be doing him a disservice if they did anything but force him to go pro.
So we'll have to see how that kind of plays out. And, of course, there's still the rest of the roster situation. You kind of mentioned that in looking at this whole situation. One of the things that I think kind of concerned me kind of going into this whole deal is that it seemed like one of the recruits that decommitted, and I'm just going to call him Q. I'm not 100% sure how to say his last name. The kid that would have been here for 2 years. He would have, I think he was willing to wait it out to kind of see who the next coach was going to be, and to see, to hear from that person, get connected with them, see if it was a good fit. Nobody from the university reaching out to the recruits after this thing happened is a big kind of just like, hey, what's going on here? He said when no one reached out to him, he just felt like it wasn't a priority. And that's when he kind of opened his recruitment back up and asked for the release from his NIL, or from his national letter of intent, different NLI. So, we still right now technically have 3 guys committed to play basketball at the University of Kentucky. I think we just mentioned Travis Berry being one of them. And obviously feel really good about that one. He's the one person who benefits the most. What do you think about Flan? Do you think there's any chance that they're able to hold on to him? I mean, he hasn't reopened up his recruiting yet.
I mean, I'm not going to say no, because I don't know. That's the big unknown out of all this, is what does the team look like next year? Because very few of us know what kind of a recruiter Mark Pope is. It is a difficult, unique situation comparing him versus comparing some of the other options that we talked about, because he's got the social issues at BYU that he has to contend with. He has the social contracts, the agreements that players have to make. Let's just put it on the table. Players aren't allowed to do certain things that they want to do at another university that guys and girls that age like to do. We've been in college. We know what we're talking about here. That is an issue. That is something that has caused BYU to lose players off their team in the past. How will he be able to recruit without those kinds of restrictions in place, without the admission restrictions that come in place? Because I don't know. Obviously, I don't think you have to be a Mormon, obviously, to go to BYU, but do they, require you to have to have different enrollment requirements that a Kentucky wouldn't? I haven't dived deep into the world of BYU recruiting, so I don't know these things. Maybe somebody does and can educate us, but he's not going to have any of those restrictions here. It's just simply going to be, do you qualify to enroll at the University of Kentucky with your GPA and your classes and everything else? And are you good enough to see the floor? So he could be a much better recruiter than we've seen at BYU. He could also be a guy who recruits kind of like Tubby did for a while, where you're getting 3 and 4 stars that you can fit into your system, and that may work. we don't know. And I don't like to make uneducated guesses on these kinds of things. What I do know is that we've got guys that have not committed to other schools yet, which means they're still in play. And I don't care if they say I'm reopening my commitment. I don't care if they say, well, I'm looking at these 5 schools and Kentucky's not on the list. Until they commit to another school, they are in play. So if we can get any of them to come back, perfect.
All right, James, I'm seeing that
Also, I think we are getting ready to start.
Yeah, they got the lights going and all that other kind of stuff. Do you have audio on this thing yet?
Not yet, but I'm watching.
Okay, so as soon as we're definitely getting closer, they're getting the crowd all riled up. I think it looks like they're showing some highlights from Kentucky basketball history, including some from those '90s seasons on the jumbotron. So it should be just a couple moments before.
I think that's the intro video that they show before each game.
I think it is too. What's that song?
Yeah, there was a note that said audio soon. So
okay, great.
The Bittersweet Symphony song,
or
whatever,
right.
It's sped up. Yeah. There are people saying it's louder than any home game's been this year, and it's not even full.
Well, listen, I mean, again, I think Kentucky normally doesn't do the hiring one of their own, right? This is not something that they do. And so I do think, though, that in this case, because I think Pope has won at a high level at a major conference, and we missed out on the guys who won national titles, but at the end, and we don't really know, I guess, with Billy Donovan, whatever happened there. But we got at least a guy who's gone into a major conference and has won at a high level. Like you said, he beat NC State, he beat Iowa State, they didn't beat Houston, but they played them tough. I mean, they had some big wins. They beat Kansas, they beat Baylor.
Audio, I'll let you know when it starts.
Okay.
Just a heads up, looking at photos and stuff, Rupp's not at full capacity because they've got the eruption zone and stuff like that, where they got the seats that slide out. Those are not open, but every seat that is a fixed seat is full.
Wow.
Including the upper level.
We should be going to audio here really, really soon. They're still showing more. They're showing extended Pope videos.
There is also somebody, Keith Farmer tweeted out a photo. There is someone dressed as the Pope.
Yeah, well, I sent that video. I tweeted that video out. My daughter taking that video up to the UK. I tweeted that out, and that was what the Pope this show. So we'll have to see what happens. Like you said, Travis Perry is in attendance. They're showing the video right now of bringing the national title from '96 into Rupp Arena right off the plane, the same way they did after the Duke loss in '92. It just drove. Oh, and here we go. We got the replay of that right now. The motorcade bringing the bus in. This is fantastic.
It looks like we got audio now. So
all right, let's go to this, James.
Blue Nation, please welcome home your new head coach of Kentucky, Mark Pope. This is the logo. And this was the welcome home. It's a one-sentence introduction. The captain is now the coach. Please welcome the new head coach of your Kentucky Wildcats, Mark Pope, and UK Athletics Director Mitch Barnhart.
Truly amazing, amazing. And thank you for every one of you coming out on a wonderful Sunday afternoon. Thank you so much. There are programs that don't get this kind of crowd for 5 games. You came here for a press conference. That's awesome. That is awesome. A few thank yous and a few comments, so we're going to get the main guy up here. First off, thank you to our president, Dr. Capilouto, our board of trustees, our lettermen who are right over here that got off the bus over here with us, and specifically the teammates of Mark Pope on the 96 team. Congratulations, one of your guys is back. We've got several members of our head coaches staff over here, and we'd like to thank them for coming to support Mark, and that's awesome. We have members of the Rupp family here somewhere. I'm not sure where they are, but we want it. There they are right back here. Congrats. Thanks for being here today. And I'd like to thank Mark Hill and Ray Oliver for all their help during this process. It's really good. Real quickly, I'm going to give Mark a jersey. We take these photo ops all the time, right? So we're going to do this little jersey thing. I'll finish my remarks, and then we'll get him up here, all right? So let's do this real quick. There's an old song from the 70s. It's by Jefferson Starship. I date myself. It's called Find Your Way Back. It's time for us to find our way back. To do that, you need a guide. You got it to someone who's been on the journey before and knows the way, the work, the challenges, and eventually the beauty of the destination. That's right. To understand the heart of this special place, and we have such a person today. We have a letterman, check the box. We have a captain, check the box. We have a champion, check the box. We got a guy that understands the professional game, check the box. We've got a scholar. I have never hired a Rhodes Scholar candidate in my life. Check the box. Most of all, we have an amazing husband, father, and coach. Check 3 boxes. He will guide us back to our heart. Through all the changes in college sports, he understands the DNA that leads us to our destination. He said this place changed the trajectory of his life. We are ready and excited. He is ready to do the same for the very young men in our program, and we're excited for that. Couple more sentences and I'm out, because you didn't come here to hear me. It is with great pleasure we welcome today the Pope family, Leanne, Ella, Avery, Layla, and Shay. Thank you, and Spencer. Welcome. It's our honor that you're here. And while I'm making introductions, I might as well go ahead and introduce the head guy, the new head basketball coach at the University of Kentucky, Mark Pope.
Hey, Mitch, hold on. So guys, we see these introductory press conferences all the time now. Nobody in the world has ever seen anything like this. But I'm about to break tradition. I'm about to break tradition. At every one of these press conferences, the coach comes up and he stands there with the AD and they take a picture with a jersey that they just made that ends up in a closet somewhere. We're not doing that. Hey, this jersey is in a hallowed place in my home because it's the jersey that I got to wear with my teammates and all of Kentucky Nation in a national championship game in the Meadowlands in New York. And that's not just a jersey that's going to go in the closet. It's a jersey that has blood, sweat, and tears and love, and it's all of us together. I'm going to keep this as short as I can. I talk a lot, but there's one other way where I want to blow up this press conference. And I'm going to get crushed for doing this. Every coach in America, at every other job in America, stands up at the press conference and they try and moderate expectations. We don't do that here at Kentucky. When Mitch called me and talked to me about being the head coach here at Kentucky, I understand the assignment. We are here to win banners. And as we go through this journey, we're here to win banners in Nashville. Because you guys turn out in Nashville like nobody else, and that matters. And we are here, our job here, our assignment is to go win banners in the Final Four, win national championships. That's our job. With those high expectations, inevitably is going to come criticism, but I don't want you guys to worry. Because I'm on a group chat with every single one of my 96 championship teammates, and they will destroy me every time something goes wrong. I want to do a couple thank yous, please. I'd like to thank very much President Capilouto for his leadership. I'm grateful for Mitch Barnhart as I've watched the last 22 years with how he's run this program and how he is as a man. We are so grateful to have him here. He is incredible. I'm grateful to Mark Hill and Ray Oliver for all the work they've done in this process over the last 72 hours. I'm grateful to these players. I'm grateful for the players from '96 and through the generations at Kentucky who have actually made this place what it is. I'm grateful to every single one of you. That's a big reason why I'm back here. And more than anything else, what separates from everybody else, we have great coaches, players, administrators, but what makes us different than everybody else is you all. I'm so grateful for you. Guys, I cannot wait any longer to do this. Will you please join me in a little cats, 1, 2, 3 cats, please? Come on, stand up and let's go. I need your help here. Can we do this, please? 1, 2, 3, C-A-T-S, cats. I love it. Let's go. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Let's go. Let's go. Like Mitch said, I love this place from the depths of my soul. It changed my entire life. And I want to, if you'll indulge me very briefly, I'd like to introduce my family to your family. And I'd like to show you how much we love this place. My daughter, Layla, will you stand up, please? Just wave. This is 100% a true story. When Mitch offered us a job, he gave us a couple hours to consult with his family. We didn't need it. He knew I would walk all the way here to take this job. But as we gathered the girls from all their various places, Layla Pope walks in the door, and I kid you not, her first words were, because she knows the deal, "Tell me who's in the house tonight, UK?" She did exactly that. Exactly that. True story. That evening, Avery, stand up, and Shade, stand up, please, to say hi. I don't know how they did it or where it came from, but they went down in the basement somewhere in storage, and they both came up with 96 untouchable vintage t-shirts. I have no idea how they are. Ella is my oldest daughter, and she knows me the best, and my history the best. And her only question was, "Dad, when are we going?" Of course it was. Will you stand up and... And then Leanne, will you stand up and say hi? So if you'll stay with me for a second, if you're a mother and you can imagine all the pressure and stress that comes with life as a mom and all of the things that she has to consider every single day, and we sat around the table and got everybody's reaction, and with all of the burden, with all the grace and courage and elegance that you can imagine, Leanne just kind of looked around across the table and said, "Let's go." You don't need to know this, but I'm going to say it anyway because I can. I'm madly in love with this woman. She makes sense of my whole life. I'm so grateful for her. And you'll quickly find out that she's going to get to know every single one of you and love you like crazy. It's going to be really special. Okay? So, Pope family, will you stand up because this is super important. I want you to turn around. And Pope family, I want you to introduce you to our family. All right, so we talk a little bit about coaching. I'm going to tell you some things that are deeply in our DNA as a coach. And what's interesting is where we learned them. So you're going to hear from me every single day, relentless 24/7 work. And those are not fake words, relentless 24/7 work. And I learned that here. I'll never forget, I was here for maybe 2 weeks. And I had transferred in, and I couldn't believe I was at the University of Kentucky. And I'm like, man, they have all Americans. I got to go catch up. So it's 11:30 at night. I'm in the Wildcat Lodge. And I'm like, I got to go get some extra work in while all the other guys are resting and sleeping at 11:30 at night. So I walk across the street to Memorial Coliseum, open up the door, and I hear balls bouncing. I'm like, who's in there? And I walk in there, and it was like 5 guys. It was like JP and Shet and DA and TD in there in a full sweat already. Those guys taught me how to work. I learned about resilience here. And here at Kentucky, resilience is a requirement. It's not an exception, it's a requirement. And I learned that here. I learned here about the passion wins championships. Passion wins championships. And sometimes my 96 guys will remember this story, but we're not going to tell it. Sometimes when you're on the court playing with all the passion, competing with all the passion you can, your insides end up all over the floor. And I learned that from my guys. I learned about gratitude here at Kentucky. I learned so much about gratitude. Entitlement leads to sorrow and depression. And gratitude leads to joy. And I'm going to tell you this. You know what all these players know that all of our future players are going to learn really quick, okay, is that they are not doing those jerseys a favor by letting the jerseys clothe them. Our guys will know quickly, and it's hard not to know, it will be one of the great honors of their life to put that jersey on. There's only a select few players in the world that ever get to wear a Kentucky jersey, to wear a Kentucky jersey. It's one of the greatest honors guys can ever have as a basketball player. Let me tell you a story. I played almost a decade in the NBA, and it has been confirmed that I was the worst player to ever wear Jerry West, okay? A unanimous polling, all right? But you know what we did in the locker room, guys? And I played with all-stars and some of the greatest ever played. You know what we did? We didn't talk about the NBA teams we played for. We didn't talk about NBA championships or MVPs. You know what we did? We sat in the locker room and we talked about our college basketball teams. That's a true story. That's a fact. That's what you do. Nobody's going home to their NBA team. They're coming home to here. This is a gift to be here. I believe these players, man, our job as coaches is we get to be shepherds. Sometimes no words are the most powerful words of all. But Shep and I are roommates for a long time, so we get to do that to each other a little bit. But to be a shepherd to these guys, and it is like when you come to Kentucky, it just rips you open. Your insides get exposed, your whole guts are out there, and then you get to rebuild yourself with your teammates and your staff and become something new and better that changes your life forever. And we get to shepherd guys through that. These players are my job to coach and shepherd, and our job to love. And for every player, I wish that they could come experience something like this. There is nothing better, and you can't get it anywhere else besides Kentucky. There's nowhere else you can get this. There's nowhere else. All right, I'm going to give you a few specifics about basketball really quick. You know that my team last year made the second most threes in all of college basketball. But at Kentucky, we don't come in second. My team last year had the fourth most assists in the country, and at Kentucky, we share everything. We're going to be absurdly aggressive on offense. We're going to change it up and keep people on their heels on defense, and that's wow. I heard a defense wins games out here. And that's our plan. That's what we're going to work for every day, and we have no choice to be successful. Guys, it is the greatest honor that I will ever have in my professional or this family career to be able to come back here and do this with you. The difference between Kentucky and every other program in the country is that this is not my team. It's not even our team. It is our team. I'm looking up at these banners up here. I got championship team 1948, 1949, 1951, 1958, 1978, if you remember. I can't tell you how many times I heard Kyle Macy tell the story about halftime when coach came in and said just 5 words: get the ball to Jack, to Goose. Where is he? Where is he? We got the 1996 team. What? And we got these legends. I think I have a couple here, a couple legends from 2012. How much do we love that team? What? And I'm telling you, last thing I have for you, when I look up at those banners, when I look up at the rafters, it looks super crowded. But if I know anything in the world about Mitch Barnhart, he is going to make more room. Let's go, fill it up. Go Cats. Love you, Cats.
Let me know when you're ready to come back.
And there it is.
You come back.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
And there it is, the start of the Mark Pope era. I think Louis said it best. It's hard for a coach not to win the press conference. But he had me right off the bat rolling that bus in to recreate that 1996 moment and to see all those basketball alumni come off the bus and for my childhood to flash before my eyes and all the reasons of why I love Kentucky basketball and to see those great players. I'll tell you right now, it was unbelievable just to see all that love and to see the return to what matters most at Kentucky carrying on that tradition and putting banners up. How about Ence? How about him taking a couple direct shots at Cal?
Couple direct shots at U of L as well.
Yeah, I mean, what were your thoughts on that? I didn't expect that at all. I'll tell you, I think the one thing I wanted to get out of this press conference is, does he have the personality big enough to, to be the forefront of this university? I'm not, we had the Billy Gillespie all shucks kind of guy. We knew that wasn't going to fly. He might not be Rick Pitino. He might not be John Calipari, but he's going to be Mark Pope, and it looked like his personality was big enough to be up there.
I think, and I tweeted this out when it happened, as somebody who grew up with that team as like I said, early teenage years, watching that bus roll in, I don't know if he's going to be a success. I don't know if he's going to be a failure, and I'm not going to pretend to know either way and see the future.
Taking questions.
If I could do that, I would win the lottery. But seeing that bus brought back serious memories that took me back to childhood and got me excited again, even if just for a little bit, to see some of those faces come off that bus. They nailed it. That was the only way you could introduce him, I think. Do we want to take these questions that they're asking?
We'll go back. Pope is now taking questions from the media, so we're going to go back to that now.
We're gonna find the guys that fit here, the way we play, and the guys that will come here and understand what a gift it is to play here at the University of Kentucky.
Mark, Kyle Tucker with The Athletic. What is your approach to building a staff? What is and not just the assistants next to you, like the big picture approach to building a college basketball staff today?
Yeah, so it's one of the fun things about college basketball. It's so dynamic right now. The portal, NIL, conference realignment has changed everything so quickly. So building a staff now, you're not just looking for the skill sets of on-court development and even just recruiting. You're considering like GM positions that can navigate a roster. You're considering NIL positions. Let me say something about NIL. It's more than just cash. NIL is building a future and contributing to a community, and doing that right takes a lot of effort. And I could go into hours and hours of conversation with you on that.
Matt Jones, Kentucky Sports Radio. Are you? Nice to see you, Mark.
Stand up, take a bow. That's impressive.
Good. Are you, when it comes to scheduling, like preseason tournaments, home and homes, that kind of stuff, what's your thought on how you make your schedule every year?
All right, so anybody in here down with the game versus St. John's? I neglected, and I'm actually so embarrassed. Somehow I missed my notes. I neglected to pay homage to Coach Rick Pitino. Every coach that has coached here has done amazing things. Everybody's contributed to Big Blue Nation, but Coach Pitino, he changed me. And I'm telling you, like, he changed me to my soul. He changed my DNA as a human being. He allowed me now to be someone that feels like I can walk into any room and take on any impossible task. And I will love him forever. And so I say St. John's just because I have so much admiration for him. He's probably the best that ever did it. And I love him so much. My other question is, and I don't know, Mitch actually might get super mad at me, but since we have this small group gathered together, let's just say sometime in the future, we could find our way into this Maui tournament. Would anybody come? Maybe. We'll see.
Mark, Ben Roberts, Lexington Herald leader. Can you just kind of walk us through the process of Mitch approaching you, your emotions, and then was it really a split second? Did you have to think about it?
Yeah, it was. Well, so here's the deal. Like, I've been blessed with some of the most incredible coaching opportunities in the world. So incredible. I have loved deeply the paces I've been able to coach. And since I started coaching, every single person that I know, including my ADs and associate ADs and players, they know that like my heart bleeds blue Kentucky. They just know. And Mitch knew that, and so I think that's maybe he was a little cautious calling me because he knew I was going to say yes before he even finished the question. Saying, hey, Mark, would you be like, yes?
Mark Beck here, Michael Epps with Fox 56 here in Lexington. I know you know as well as anybody that winning in March is what matters, despite this being fantastic today. What is your plan to make sure that this March you guys win as a program and get farther in the tournament?
Listen, that's the job, guys. That is the job. Like, we're not ducking it. That is the assignment. We know the assignment. That's what it is, right? And frankly, if you're too cautious or too worried to take on that challenge, don't come to Kentucky because there's nothing else that's acceptable. So somewhere in me, I'm bordering on somewhere between bold and dumb, but I think we can do it, guys. Let's go do it, okay?
Mark, Dick Gabriel, Big Blue Insider. A few years ago when we were talking to you for the documentary we did on your team, you were talking about the free throws you hit in the final seconds against Syracuse. And you told me I knew if I didn't hit those free throws, I could never come back to Kentucky again. Here you are. But how much is being a part of that championship team going to help you recruiting and building a program?
Yeah, so do we have time? Can I tell this story? So guys, we're playing Syracuse in the national championship, right? And there's give or take a minute left. And really the only meaningful play that I made in my I was a bad player. The only meaningful play I made in my entire career, Syracuse pushing the ball down the floor. And I kind of trip and fall into a pass and deflected, and they give me a foul. And so, yes, how good I was. So it happened right down there in the Meadowlands, but on that spot on the court. And I started walking from there to the free throw line. I don't know, it's 50 seconds. Someone look it up. There's 50 seconds left. I think we were maybe up 3, maybe up 5 even. And there was only one thought. This is honestly the truth. I wasn't thinking about form or team or celebration or score. I literally was walking, and I promise this is true. The only thought that came into my mind was, if I don't make this, they are going to kill me. And who wouldn't want that? That's why we're here, guys. That's what we do. So that's important.
Back here in the back. Mr. Tony, KY Sports TV. With all the great players that, and judging from the crowd reaction to Reed Shepherd's name being mentioned. But what can you say? What can you say about your approach to in-state recruiting and going to get some more guys like him?
Yeah. So, yeah. So, from Richie Farmer. And all the in-state greats that came before him, all the way to Reed Shepherd, most recently last year. And I don't know if he's here right now, but to Travis Perry next year. Travis, are you here? Come on, man, stand up. What are we doing? Well, there's a good chance Travis not going to jump in the portal, guys. But before Richie and after Travis and everybody in between, it's an in-state Kentucky kid. Like these young men that grow up in Kentucky, they bring a spirit to this team that cannot be fabricated, cannot be replaced, and helps us win, and we're going to keep recruiting them.
Mark, Dylan Ballard of Sea of Blue. You know, you have been heralded nationally by people talking about your strategic X's and O's, but college basketball is ever changing right now. We've talked about the NIL, the portal. Have you and Mitch talked about the possibility of some roles being added to the staff or to the administration for specifically to deal with NLI and portal, just kind of innovating like we've seen some of these other programs do?
Yeah, it's very much at the forefront of all of our conversations, and it might not be titled that way. It might be responsibility out under former titles, but approaching it that way. But clearly, that's wildly important. I'm not smart enough to figure all that out, so we're going to get some help in here to do it.
Hey, Mark, Tristan Ferris with Kentucky Insider. You kind of think, sorry, I lost my question.
You know what? You're looking at me. I'm an extremely handsome guy, man. That's hard. It's distracting. It is distracting.
I got it. But you talked about not wanting to temper expectations. Obviously, Kentucky hasn't made it to the second weekend since 2019, and this is your first year. Just kind of what are your expectations for your first season?
Well, the one thing I know about Kentucky, guys, is I would try and temper expectations, but that ain't happening. Like, you guys are not allowing that. So why try, right? We're trying to go win. Our goal is to win every single game we play. That's what we're shooting for. We're trying to go win. And listen, and when we lose a game, if that happens, we're going to pick ourselves up and we're going to reassemble and be resilient and be relentless, and we're going to go try and win the next one. That's what we do here at Kentucky. That's like the DNA. Like, you know what? If Kentuckians know one thing, they know a hard day's work and getting up the next morning and having another hard day's work. That's what we know here.
Hello, Mark. Mr. Pope, 1996.
Oh, my gosh.
What?
Hey, let's give it up right here. This is my guy. Yes. I'm so happy to see you.
1996, we did an interview and you said, quote, "No way am I going to be a coach." Now that you're at the program with the greatest tradition in the history of basketball, if you're in my house and my son had talent, well, he couldn't because it's me, and he had talent, and you can speak in sound bites because we did a lot of TV, what would you tell my son and my family in a sound bite as to why they should play for you in the University of Kentucky?
I would say this. I would say there is no doubt that there are great programs all around this country. There are great programs. There's no doubt. And that's true. And it's also true that there is nowhere like the University of Kentucky. There's nowhere. There's nowhere. Listen, you guys are living proof of that. Listen, we had a little call to arms, a little call to help, and you can't even fit all the Kentucky faithful in this building this evening, right? There is nowhere like this, guys. And listen, don't you think that you are not making a difference, because this video is going out to every recruit in America right now.
Mark, Kent Taylor from WLKY in Louisville. When you decide that medical school's not for you, how far is this day from your mind? I mean, that you could be the coach at the University of Kentucky, and I don't know if you have it in your repertoire, but are you going to throw away your shot?
Hey, you guys don't want that right now.
We do.
We'll see. Maybe we'll save that for a little Midnight Madness action. We'll see. This is what I'll tell you about medical school, guys. So first, you are welcome, because when I dropped out of medical school, the survival rate of patients went way up. And I don't know, in terms of being the head coach of Kentucky, because I love this place so much, it's almost incomprehensible, actually, to me, even this day. So I'm super grateful. I'm really grateful for that.
Mark, Aaron Gershon with the Cat's Paws. With the offense you run, you touched on it a little bit in the open there, but how similar? We've heard there's some
Hold
similarities.
on one sec. So we just said Cat's Paws. I don't know where Oscar Combs is. Is he here somewhere? Is Oscar here? He's not. Well, just please extend my love to him. I love him. I think he's a great Kentuckian, man. He's a great.
But we've heard some of the similarities to it from when you were playing here. Just what wrinkles have you added over the years? The offensive scheme?
Oh, yes. Well, I'm never going to be as smart as Coach P. I don't know if I'll ever be as fortunate to have those guys on the court. Those guys are incredible. But certainly we're taking a lot from Coach P's DNA, and it's actually we're growing into it. You know, Coach P, I think, sometimes looks at us and says, "You copycat, man. Stop taking my stuff." But hopefully, you know, if I could take anything from Coach P, it would be the every second desperate, relentless fight on the court that he inspired of us. I'll tell you a quick story. I hope this is okay. Can I tell a story? Deb sometimes like, man, you got to stop. Okay, so we're playing here. Our bench, unless I'm backwards, I can't remember which side our bench was on. And we're playing athletes in action. Somebody will verify the numbers on this because you guys are checking everything now. But I don't know if our guys remember this, but the score was like 28-4 to start the game. We're just crushing athletes in action. And coach calls a timeout because they go on a 4-0 run. So now it's 28-8, give or take. And coach is losing his mind. Like, he is killing us. And so we're sitting on the bench. I'm sitting by Walter McCarty, his coach is laying into us for this 4-0 run. You know, it's 28-8. And I'll never forget, you guys know and love Walt. Walt stands up. We walk off. The last thing coach says is, "You guys are going to pay for this tomorrow." That was the last thing he said. Walt stands up white as a ghost. His eyes tearing up. And he looks at me, and his voice is warm. He's like, "We got to fix this. We got to fix this." And so we're going to find our own way to fabricate that type of work and energy, because that's what Kentucky deserves. And if we don't do it, then we don't belong here. And that's the job, guys. That's the assignment.
Tyler Russell with Kentucky Colonel. Coach, once the dust settles and it's time to go to work and building your team, what's the very first step that you're going to take to do that?
Well, first of all, hopefully the dust never settles in Kentucky. It doesn't do that. But right now, we're really focused on our current players and the recruits coming in. And it's mostly just figuring out, meeting with those guys and figuring out if they're a right fit for us right now and how that fits. So it's clearly there. It's clearly the portal, and it's trying to find the guys that fit here. And those guys that fit here are sometimes going to be one and done burger boys for sure. And sometimes those guys are going to be guys that come here and play 4 years and grow in your hearts and minds and become Kentucky legends and everything in between. That's what Kentucky deserves.
Hey, I'm Kennedy Whitby with UK Student News. And older Kentucky fans know who you are, or at least are aware that you were the captain of the 1996 National Championship team.
Really old.
Right.
Former Kentucky.
Well, yes. Arguably one of the best teams in college basketball. And there's a lot of younger generations here. If you can reintroduce yourself, what would you say? Who can you say Mark Pope is?
I would just say that I'm someone that loves Kentucky from the depths of my soul. I'm someone that loves this game from the depths of my soul. I'm someone that loves my family from the depths of my soul. And I'm someone that's a believer and loves God from the depths of my soul. That's who I am.
Chris Beesmore with ABC 36 News. How will you continue the greatest tradition in college basketball?
We're going to work. We're going to work. That's what we do. That is our answer. We're going to work. We're going to work hard and smart and together, and we're going to go figure it out. Thank you for the question.
Mark, C.L. Brown with the Louisville Courier-Journal. You mentioned making sure the kids here know about what it means to put that jersey on. How do you approach that with the generation that kind of seems like they don't remember a whole lot from the past and necessarily intake history?
You know what? That's a real challenge for every young person right now. The young people today are facing incredible challenges, guys. Social media has changed our life, has changed our value system, has changed how we operate and think. Is one of many things that have changed us. So there's no easy answer to that. There's not. But I'm telling you, like, we got distracted when I talked about being a shepherd. But one of the most important things that we can teach this generation as they pursue greatness is gratitude. Gratitude is everything to me. And furthermore, if you want to become a great player, you're going to learn gratitude. It's going to speed your process to becoming great. And so we don't have a magic pill on that. We're going to work on that and preach that and teach that and exemplify that, just like all you great people in the state of Kentucky do every single day.
Hey, Mark, straight away in the back right here. Tyler Grieber from WDRB in Louisville. You talked about Coach Pitino, how much you've taken from him. Have you been able to speak to him at all since you were starting to feel like you were going to take this job? And what did he tell you?
Well, I still have some PTSD. I get really nervous when I talk to Coach. But Coach has been such a gracious, incredible mentor, and I love him to death. And he is someone that on the right occasions at the right time, I will lean on him for some counsel because he just is. He just worked wonders in my life.
Coach, when you're on the bus and you pull into Rupp Arena and you see it's like a game day crowd in here in the middle of April, what's some of the thoughts that's going through your mind?
I don't know how to say that. I just don't know. I can say this. BBN rallies, man. BBN rallies in a big way. And, you know, super special to me. I'm not going to lie. So we drag as many former players onto the bus as we get. And just equally as special to me as all of us walking in here and enjoying this evening with you was walking on the bus and getting to dap up all these guys that we've battled with and celebrated with, and the guys that built this place, these legendary cats, was super special to me.
Hey, Coach, this is Mario with Kentucky Sports Radio. I want to ask you, what are you most excited about for next season?
I'm most excited about winning. Let's go win. Let's go win. We got to go win. Let's go win.
Trace Terrell with Cast Coverage. What's your pitch to the players who've been here the last 14, 15 years to come back and still support this program?
Well, I don't think it's hard because we all got to experience this, right? I don't know how to say this, but part of what's different about Kentucky is there's a really fantastic, strong young man, older man somewhere up here in the stands, right? And his heart is in Kentucky. And my heart is in Kentucky exactly the same way. And these guys' heart is in Kentucky exactly the same way. And it makes us different. This is just different. I feel like I've been everywhere. And there's nowhere that shares this all together like we do here in Kentucky. So I didn't have to do anything. These guys care about this place. They love this place. Okay, last two questions because Shay is getting bored. So we gotta hurry.
Mark, Oscar Woodall, Haywood Media, and Radio Lex. Welcome back. You mentioned that you'll be leaning on Coach Pitino on occasion. What about your former players? Will they be allowed to attend your practices and you would lean on them for some advice and knowledge?
All right, I'm going to get in big trouble here. So I got a huge warning. So I don't know the answer. In the past, at previous institutions, I've just had open practices for everybody every day. That could really be problematic here, I think. But listen, this is not my team. This is our team. This is those guys' team and your team and everyone in the back's team. And so we're all doing this together. And that's the basic principle we're working off of.
Maggie Davis, BBN Tonight. Coach, you talk about this being our team. You walked into your office today. Kentucky shared a video of that. Yeah, that's pretty nice, thanks.
Okay.
UK Athletics shared a video of you walking into your office today. Was that a moment that it started to really sink in? This is your office. This is your program.
Yeah, I think every single second has been a moment. It's just because my heart is here. Like, it just is awesome. And tonight at some point, we're going to go home and jump on the phone and start recruiting. And like every recruiting call is going to be like an incredible moment because, you know, kids are answering a little bit different when I talk about Kentucky. Hey, listen. Hey, we got a long road and it's going to be epic. And I love every single one of you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. Let's go, Cats. Let's go, Cats.
All right, James. Well, there you have it. The Q&A with Mark Pope comes to an end. You know, again, just I love the fire. I love the passion. That was the one thing that he said in that whole thing that really came through to me was how important it is to play with passion, because there was plenty of times this year. I think it was one of my big, he really kind of hit on so many of my pain points that happened throughout the season of how sometimes it looked like our guys didn't play with passion. They didn't know how to step up the intensity for the moment or whatever that might be. And I can listen to him talk all day long, you know, and really get on board. You know, a lot of people making some good points about, and you made the point earlier about if you could recruit to BYU with the rules that they had to kind of live by, you know, that his door completely opens up. And now he's got to go out there and get his guys that are going to fit this team. I thought it was brilliant to single out Travis Perry and to show not only, you know, to get him the reception that he was going to get, but then other recruits seeing the kind of reception that they get if they come here. So I think he could be a really good fit, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I said, and look, and I've said since he first got mentioned, he knows what this is. He knows what he's walking into in terms of this fan base. And he knew exactly how to talk to them. He knew exactly how to connect with them to get people to buy in. And, you know, I'm seeing U of L fans. I'm getting texts. I'm getting tweets. I'm seeing all kinds of stuff. And I get it. You know, the same buy-in that they had, and we made fun of things, you know, certain people on our airwaves, James Strebel. You know, it's Big Rig's bought in. Big Rig's easily bought in. But here's the difference for me. And I'm not saying that, you know, for anybody, oh, you're bashing U of L. I didn't have any issue with anything with their new head coach. I just called him corny. I said a lot of the stuff he was doing, a lot of the stuff he was saying was extremely corny. And I'm not going to sit here and say Mark Pope's not corny, because any man who Kent Taylor tried to bait him into doing Hamilton stuff on, you know, at the initial press conference, he's corny. That's okay. My biggest thing with the U of L press conference was it was a lot of acronyms and sayings ripped off from other people. We didn't get that from Pope. Pope understands what this is. He played here for 3 years. He won a national championship here. He's been obviously, you know, still continuing to keep track of the program from afar. And I think he did a great job of, one, reminding people of the relationship with Rick Pitino and making people remember what this program used to be.
Who's in the house tonight? UK.
God, I hadn't heard that. Speaking of things I hadn't heard in ages, athletes in action. Oh my God, how old are we, Mike?
Although
I hadn't heard about. I don't think athletes in action exist anymore, but we played them every year. Every single year, they were one of our 2 preseason games. I had forgotten about those guys.
When they changed the rules and allowed the exhibition games to be against Division II, Division III schools, all that stuff kind of went away. So, yeah.
But he did a good job of reminding people of what this program used to mean to Kentucky fans, and I think, we talked about earlier before he started taking questions. He took some shots at Cal. I think he also made a point of emphasis that with John Calipari, the focus of the program was to get guys to the NBA. Mark Pope brings back a focus of this being Big Blue Nation, of this being a community. It's not, our goal is to get guys to the NBA, which that should be any coach's goal. You want to see your players go on and succeed, whether it be in basketball, whether it be, in their careers or whatever the case may be. But he's reminding people that our goal is to win national championships and to be the best program in college basketball.
Yep.
And you don't become the best program in college basketball by putting guys in the NBA with 5 guys on draft night and calling it the best night of the program's history. No, the best night of the program's history is rolling into Rupp Arena in a damn bus with a motorcade and walking off of the bus with a national championship trophy. That's the best night in UK history. And they reached back into the past for that. I mean, because look, again, when I was a kid, I had never seen us win a national championship. I had witnessed the Duke Leitner shot. It crushed me.
We were both
that
too
was
young
the
in
culmination.
1978.
That was the culmination of everything for me as a kid. And then we had to wait after the 98 title. We had to wait another 14 years for 2012. And I didn't enjoy 2012 because I was so anxious because I knew we needed to win that title. It was our best shot and it would be miserable if we didn't. And I was so anxious the whole season. That 95-96 team was the most fun I've ever had watching a team because you weren't anxious. You were just living in the moment and watching how dominant they were and seeing all those faces come off that bus. We were resigned to the fact that Cal was going to be the head coach next season. There was no energy. There was no buy-in. There was no excitement. It was, okay, well, we'll get a good team and we'll lose again in the round of 64. Maybe we'll get to the round of 32. Now, I go back to what I keep saying. I'm not saying it's going to be a success. I'm not saying it's going to be a failure. But now you have buy-in. Now you have people excited again because if you couldn't tell from that crowd, people are pumped again about UK basketball. Now, he's won the press conference. His next step, he's got to go and win the recruits. He's got to go and win games. We don't know what's going to happen on that front. We will find out in time. But he did everything right with the press conference. And this is the first time since 2017 that I can remember having this much energy, this much buzz around the Kentucky basketball program that wasn't solely about, well, we got the top recruiting class in the country.
Exactly right. And you know what our job is? Our job is to take calls. 502-267-9680 is the phone line. They are open. We want to hear from you. Let's let them roll in. The text line is also open, 502-437-9680.
Get those loaded up right now.
And, we got to get all of it ready to go. So get your calls in. We're here for you all. This is your all show. We say it all the time. This is
Big Rig. I know you're listening. Call in, damn it.
Yeah. And, of course, that press conference was whether you walk, pedal, or drive. I don't have it up. I can't.
Kentucky Highway of Transportation.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's actually like sponsoring this because it's not necessarily the post game show, but I just trying to do fun. Hey, but by the way, he also mentioned, do we want to play St. John's? Oh my God, how great would that
bringing
be?
back the Maui,
bringing the Maui,
the Maui Invitational, another shot at Cal.
Oh yes, and it was directly because Cal knew that at the beginning of his seasons, usually his guys weren't ready to go play that kind of big tournament style basketball with the youngness of his team and whatever else. And at the end of the day, I do think that stuff kind of hurts because you go on trips like that. I know Kentucky did it over the summer lots of times, but you go on trips like you go to Maui and whatever else, and you hear I wish I remember who it was who like at the Great Alaskan Shootout like almost got lost on one of the snowmobiles. Or I can't remember who it was back in the day. someone might remember and be able to tweet it in or whatever. But yeah, I mean, those trips really unify a team. Those trips are great for a fan base. I loved also that how he confronted the SEC tournament right then and there, knowing how special that is to all those people. It was just so good to see.
David line one.
So good to see all that kind of come to the forefront. Like, he gets it. Every single one of our frustrations were addressed and heard in that press conference.
Do you want to know the thing that stood out to me the most? And it was kind of a throwaway comment, but hearing it from a Kentucky basketball coach just sent me to another level of appreciation of getting rid of Cal. Hearing him say that there are areas he needs help in and he would bring in help.
Yeah.
Hearing a Kentucky basketball coach admit that there are areas like NIL where he doesn't know everything and he's not an expert and he's not going to pretend like he is, and admits, hey, I need help in these areas. I'm going to bring people in to help me succeed. Hearing that and not hearing, well, you guys just don't know basketball. You're not, basketball bennies, this, that, the other. It was night and day, and it reminds me just all the there was talk this week about later in the week of, well, now knowing that you're getting Mark Pope, would you want Cal back? And my answer was emphatically no, because there were so many issues, so much toxicity around everything that John Calipari was the last couple of years. That was one of them. Admitting that you have areas where you're not the best coach in the country, and saying, I'm going to bring people in to help me with those blind spots. That's why I have some excitement about this. That's why I think that this, if he's given time and is able to build things up, he will be successful here. He's obviously not the coach we wanted 2 weeks ago. He's not the big flashy name. But I think with the right people around him on the staff, which he obviously already knows, and with the right players in place, we can have success again. And we'll get to actually do more than one post-game show in the NCAA tournament, potentially.
Well, there's very few coaches, again, who have gotten it done at multiple places, right? And all these coaches who have won national titles along the way had to get their start somewhere. And all I'm saying is, why not Mark Pope? Mark Pope has only had one losing season. His first season was a losing season in all of the years he coached. His next year was 500. After that, he's had all 21 seasons except for 1 year he won 19 games. And
arguably his best team didn't get to play in the tournament because it was COVID year.
Absolutely. And he's doing that again in a place where he has got major limitations on the guy he can recruit. So I'm all for it, man. I love it. We're going to go to the phone line right now. Again, if you want to join the conversation, 502-267-9680. We're going to go to the phone line right now. We got David on line one. David, how's it going tonight?
Thanks for taking my call this afternoon. Like I said, I'm very happy, glad for the hire. I mean, you had to get someone as soon as possible, and I think Mark Pope's going to fit really well. And also, I wanted to say something about that. Actually, it was that the Kentucky-Louisville rivalry now will have 2 new coaches, and
right.
I think it's gonna really bring something back to that rivalry that been getting away for a while. Wouldn't you agree with me on that?
Yeah, it's the first time, by the way, in over 100 years where a UK-U of L game will not feature at least one coach who's won a national title. And
except our head coach has won a national title.
Oh, well, that's true. That's as a coach, I guess.
I'm calling shenanigans on that because a national title is a national title.
Yeah, okay. I'll get on board with you on there, Ence. And I think it's interesting. You got these 2 guys at both these programs that's really easy to love, right? And hopefully both of these guys get their programs up, and maybe we'll see a little fire in the belly. We saw Pope today take a couple shots, kind of passive shots, but they were still shots at both Louisville and at Calipari. And if that happens,
Kelsey Louisville, he did the shot at Kentucky. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure at that press conference, right?
So as long as that they'll keep it fun and juvenile and all that kind of stuff, and they'll get the intensity back up. But we know this: basketball is better when Kentucky's good and when Louisville's good. When Louisville's good, it pushes Kentucky to be better, and those are all things that need to happen. So I love it.
Oh yeah.
So David, thanks for calling, man. Anything else?
Sure thing. It's glad to hear y'all back on the air after that last night of that Oakland upset, because I thought, well, the next post-game show was going to be football season, and that's going to be a long time. So I'm glad this came on today.
Well, and I'm just glad that, we ended that Oakland postgame show, and I didn't think there was a chance that Cal could actually physically come back to the building. And then knowing that it was kind of getting to the point where, man, it looks like we're going to have to put up with another year. And then he got Scott Satterfield. And I'll tell you what, I really didn't care, honestly, who it was coming in, as long as it wasn't John Calipari coming back. And I'm now we got one of our own who understands the tradition that's on his chest every freaking day, and that relentless hard work, the passion, the resilience, all those things that he touched on today. If our teams play with that, and he's telling the story about him coming into the gym and Delk and Prickett and Derek Anderson. By the way, don't be surprised if you don't start hearing some of those guys on our airwaves because of the relationship. Like, I've already had some conversations with Perry Stevenson and that kind of group. So we'll see what happens as we go forward. But the alums are going to be all in on supporting this guy any way that they can. So it's going to be great. I think it's going to be great. By the way, it was Wayne Turner who got into the snowmobile incident and got lost at the Great Alaskan Shootout. So there you go. Got lost for 2.5 hours and had to be rescued by
poor dude.
Iditarod Trail dogs. So, oh my gosh. Maybe we'll see if we get Wayne on to talk about that story someday. So, again, if you want to call in, David, thanks for calling. If you want to call in, 502-267-9680 is the phone line. 502-437-9680 is the text line. You want to go ahead and take a break here, Ence, and let's get the phone lines all fired up?
Yeah, that works.
Okay, we'll take a break, and then we'll come back to your phone calls. Again, this is Mike Gandolfo, Jason Ence on typically the UK Fish and Wildlife, the Kentucky Fish and Wildlife UK basketball postgame show, but today it's the post-Mark Pope press conference show. We'll be right back.
Did you know that hearing loss is the #1 modifiable risk factor to prevent dementia? Louisville Family Audiology is the premier place to hear better, get connected, and be happy. Book your appointment on LouisvilleFamilyAudiology.com or by calling or texting 502-215-8139 to schedule a comprehensive and complimentary hearing evaluation. Now open in St. Matthews and Crestwood. Life is precious, and you don't want to miss a minute of it on something as treatable as hearing loss. Give the doctors at Louisville Family Audiology a call today, 502-215-8139.
Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, historic rivalries tip off with shareable bites, and every shot you take is a game winner. All season long, you're ballin' with 29-degree beer, courtside seats, and scenic views. I mean, where else can you pair wall-to-wall hoops with hard-to-find whiskey? Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
Stick around after the sun sets. Twin Peaks is open really late. Wind down with bourbon and late-night bites.
How many times a day are you up and down the ladder, trying to get just a little bit closer to your work? Personally, I was always losing count. Then I found the cross step, and it made my work a lot easier. When the job calls for it, I can confidently use it as a step ladder or a leaning ladder. Unlike a regular step ladder, the cross step's V-shaped pro top safely leans on the walls and in the corners, so I can get a full 6 inches closer to any worksite location. It's all thanks to my new cross step from Louisville ladder.
This is Jessica Hart.
And Rick Hart with MaidPro.
MaidPro is Louisville's premier professional cleaning service, servicing homes and businesses for more than 21 years. Our trained and trusted professionals are here to service your home with knowledge and care. With our 49-point checklist, MaidPro cleans deeper and takes the worry and stress out of maintaining the cleanliness of your home. We know you will be happier with the results when you hire MaidPro. Visit maidpro.com now and schedule your free estimate.
680
WHBE
Newburgh and 105.7 WHBE FM
This is Dominique with Noble Funk Brewing Company. We are family-owned.
Bert Kreischer presents Tops Off World.
Hang on, guys. It's not letting me exit the playlist, but we're good.
Bert Kreischer presents Tops Off World Tour.
I look at my dad, I go, hey, Dad, maybe we should sit down.
Bert Kreischer presents Tops Off World Tour.
Hey, hang tight just for a second. You still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
Hey, Avery.
By the way, someone on the text line saying it was Alan Edwards who got lost.
I just looked it up on
Okay.
even though people can still hear me on the live stream right now. Just FYI, I think they can hear you when you talk, because I'm getting the Comrex, the gaggle.
I'm gonna step away and grab a drink. I'll be right back.
Okay. For everybody watching on the stream, we're going to be right back after we get the technical difficulties worked out with the advertising. So keep those posts coming in. Make sure you're flooding the phone lines, 502-267-9680. We want to hear from you. Keep the conversation going.
Right on top of it, we hear, ooh. My oldest daughter goes, Dad, look across the lake at the old man on his dock. There's another drunk, blind old white man just,
Bert Kreischer live on stage. KFC Yum Center.
You are listening to coverage of Wildcats basketball on ESPN 680 and 105.7. Now, here are your hosts, Mike Gandolfo and Jason Ence.
When Mitch called me and talked to me about being the head coach here at Kentucky, I understand the assignment. We are here to win banners.
Yeah. There it is. We are here to take callers. All right. And I'm loving that we are here to win banner sound. I could listen to it over and over and over again. That is the assignment. We are not here. Listen, we'll put guys in the NBA. That is a byproduct. But the forefront goal is to put banners up, and we are back with a coach who understands that and understands the pride and tradition that is Kentucky basketball. I'm hearing that the NIL funds are just like being stockpiled right now. That's another thing here, and I don't want to just keep on bringing up Cal. He burned a lot of bridges, man, and a lot of the big money that he needed when the NIL things kind of came were not there for him the way they could have been because of the bridges he burned. And then he burned more because people started wanting a return on their investment. and that's another piece of being able to go out there and win games, put up banners and whatever else. Is that it's one thing when you're paying all that money and you're getting the return on investment and the Cats are winning the way that they're supposed to win. It's another thing when you're getting bounced in the first weekend or you're not even seeing a Saturday or Sunday game of the SEC tournament.
Yeah, and 502-267-9680 if you want to call in and join the conversation. 437-9680 is the UPS Jobs text line, and we'll get to your text here in a minute. I mean, look, again, it goes back to what I said before we went to break. This was a toxic relationship. It was toxic for everyone involved, and I think it is hilarious how it worked out that we got a coach in here. Again, win or lose, we'll find out. This may, we were excited when we hired Billy Gillespie, and we know how that turned out. This is going to be decided at the end of the day by how he does on the court and how far he takes this team in the postseason. But there is excitement and energy around the program again that was not there 2 weeks ago when we had a hostage negotiation video of Mitch Barnhart and Cal sitting down, and you could tell neither one of them wanted to be there at all. And they're, painting grins on their faces and pretending like everything's good. And we're going to get ready for season number 16. And UK fans everywhere are like, okay, sure. And then he completely misplays the situation, gets stuck in a job he doesn't want. You can tell he's miserable getting stuck in that job. His family is not happy. Versus UK fans now have energy and excitement again, and we have a head coach who wants to be here. He's not looking for new jobs in February. This is a place that he played. He won a title here. Listening to him today, it sounds like this was his dream job. This was the job that he always hoped he would eventually get. His family knew that based on how they reacted. His former teammates knew that based on how they reacted. And his former head coach knew that. Rick Pitino, of all people, is now back in the fold. He has now come back to Camelot in the terms of whether he'll actually do it or not, saying he'll write a check for NIL if we need it, which we're not going to need it. And Mark Pope saying he's going to lean on him for advice. With over under one season, whether it'll be first season or second season, when Ricky P's back in the house.
I think they play St. John's in Rupp within the first
this year or next year.
Next year, I think this year might be a little hard for them to pull it off. I wouldn't be surprised, but I think it'll be next year.
I mean, this feels like the energy that Cal had when he took the job. Now, how long that energy lasts remains to be seen, because we know this job it's a heavy weight for any coach to take on. But we saw this kind of energy when Cal took the job, and Cal didn't view this as a dream destination as a former player. It was a big job for him, but I don't know that it was a dream destination, and he definitely didn't have ties to the program. Mark Pope has ties to the program, which means he's going to be more driven to make sure he doesn't fail, because he's not just letting down his boss at that point. He's letting down his former teammates who, as he mentioned during the press conference, will give him crap if things start to go bad.
I love that point, by the way. That's a great point, by the way. Like, he embraces the pressure. He knows exactly where the pressure is, and he knows that he's going to get the pressure from his own guys. Like, they're going to let him know. They're not going to, those guys don't hold punches back from each other. They'll let them. They'll tell each other.
And I think it's important too that this is a coach that he's mentioning current and former media people by name. He's mentioning former players by name who are in the building. This is a man who has a pre-existing relationship with the fan base, with the local media, with former players. And I think that is important because that helps. Every little bit helps when it comes to taking on a new job. I know when I've gone to new companies where I didn't know anybody versus when I went to a company where I went because I was recruited by somebody that I'd worked with before, the difference is night and day in how easy it is to settle in. And when you're already behind the 8 ball in terms of you're taking the job late, you haven't been able to recruit to this school yet, all those little things play a huge role in getting settled in quickly so that you can hit the ground running. It is going to be vitally important that all the little things that you have to typically worry about when you take on a new job or you make this kind of a move across the country are being taken care of behind the scenes by people that he knows he can trust.
And it's going to be interesting too. We've heard the call from the 2 recruits that he couldn't get a BYU, but now that he's at Kentucky, they'll listen or whatever else. Like how quickly do we start hearing roster news? How quickly he mentioned that his first job is to talk to the guys that are staying, and there's still a bunch of undecided guys on this roster. You know, we did not. This is probably one of the biggest things I think that surprised me the most. We didn't see this mass exodus as soon as Cal left, or even after the season, that I was actually expecting. You know, we've seen a good chunk of them go. We have not had any surprises, you know, of anybody who was going to go or not go. Big Z might be the biggest surprise, but at the end of the day, I don't know if we were shocked by that. Just be given his situation. Although I do think if he would have waited it out, Mark Pope would have been the ideal situation for a guy like that. You know, so I expect like the sooner we start hearing some roster news, the better, right? That's going to be the next big thing that people are going to try to hold on to, is that they want to, if he's able to maintain, you know, a Billy Richardson and maybe Boogie Flan, and we know Travis Perry's there, and if he's able to do that, and the Cats are able to go get into the transfer portal, grab some guys, maybe keep one or two guys off this roster that are a good fit, and understand this is going to be different. I mean, this is not going to be, I'm not going to say Cal didn't work the guys hard, because I don't think that's necessarily true, but this is going to be another level of resilience, 24/7, what did he say, nonstop work kind of mentality to come in here because you're committed to winning a national title. That's what it takes. You're not interested in it. It's not a nice thing that could happen while you're here. You're committed to winning a national title.
And you know what we're not going to see anymore? We're not going to see guys getting beat off the dribble every single trip down the floor. We're not going to see defense that looks like it's being played at a middle school level. We're not going to see guys not fighting, not diving for loose balls, moping around if things don't go their way. All the issues that we've seen under Cal in the past, where guys knew that, you know, hey, I'm getting minutes no matter what because I'm promised, or, well, I'm just here as a quick pit stop to the NBA, and my coach is, you know, that's my coach's ultimate goal is to improve my draft stock. That stuff's not going to fly. I almost cussed. I forgot we weren't doing the internet stuff anymore. That's not going to fly. And he's going to have his guys prepared. It's going to be so fun to see a team that actually, you know, scouts the opposing team and prepares for what they do. It's going to be fun to see a team that knows how to handle ball screens because they practice them every day as part of their offense. That's the biggest thing. His X's and O's are going to be fine. He's got to get the Jimmies and Joes. And he made mention today about the fact that he's not going to be shy about who he goes after. He's not going to deem this as, well, you know, I'm going to go get BYU level talent. He mentioned the fact that he's going to go after big recruits.
Some burger boys, we said.
It's not just the 3 and 4 stars that are going to fit his system. He wants to go get top level talent because he now knows he can go do that. And when you have a good system, which again, you look at the metrics at BYU, I'm not saying that he had a team that was going to, you know, go win a title or he's got this groundbreaking system. But it's a system that is a modern system. You're going to shoot threes. You're going to be aggressive on offense. Oh, my God. That's no more standing around dribbling the ball for 20 seconds and then calling for a high ball screen. No more dribbling out the clock with 5 minutes to go. Like, these are little things, again, that we've complained about for years and years and years under Cal. It cost us a national championship against Wisconsin. We tried to take the damn air. How many times have you and I and me and Strebel done post-game shows where we're sitting here saying, well, we had the game in hand 5 minutes to go, and then we took the air out of the ball? That's not his style. His style is, well, we're up 15, let's go get up by 20. We're up 20, all right, let's push it up to 25. That's the kind of style he wants to play.
We're actually going to hear probably people thinking, hey, he's a little too reckless at the end of the game. So we're gonna hear that comment. I don't think there's any question about it because he's not going to take the air out of the basketball. The air of the basketball would only happen if it came down to like probably in the last 30 seconds. It's just the way it's going to be.
UPS Jobs text line 437-968. We're going to get to the phone lines here in a second. Texter said that's a big boy coaching search right there. Big boy basketball.
He's 6'11".
Strevel's going to have to sit in that one for a while. Texter says, well done, boys. Just a precursor to what the Pope era will be. I'm not sure what that was referring to. Texter says, thanks for doing the show today. Do you think Reed Shepherd is considering coming back with the new close relationship of Jeff or our new coach?
I think you saw earlier. Well, I didn't know. Did you get to watch the video at all?
Yeah, I was watching it.
So when they showed Jeff, he made the Shepherd comment, which I couldn't tell was completely planned or if it was like just one of those things that happened.
I think it was.
But they showed Jeff, and when they showed Jeff, it kind of looked like that Reed's made up his mind. In my eyes, that's the way I was reading the body language, that he's, he really shouldn't come back.
He should not come back. No UK fan, other than, and look, we all have, I'm selfish about it. There have been times where I've wanted players to come back. No UK fan should realistically want him to come back, because you would be again, all it takes is one bad landing, one bad step, and his career's gone. The career that he would have had in the NBA. He gets an injury, or he comes back and has a subpar season, or shots just don't fall. We've seen it before. All of a sudden, you go from a top 10 pick to maybe latter half of the first round. That costs you millions of dollars. I appreciate what the kid gave us for a year. He was awesome. It would have been great if we could have made a run, but I cannot sit there and say, hey, come back for our selfish purposes. Go do you, man. Go get your bag. You earned it. You were one of the few bright spots on this team at the end of the year when it was all said and done. You gave your heart and soul every game. Go get yours.
We're getting one person. I'm going to pull this comment up on the Facebook feed. True, I'd rather have Pope than Scott Drew, honestly. I don't know if I disagree with that. I was never a Scott Drew fan, so this is not like, oh, he turned us down like Gandolfo's against the dude. Going back to even when Louisville considered him, I was not a Scott Drew fan. I'm a little weary about anyone who wants to move after being somewhere for 22 years. Usually the people who move are the ones that have been somewhere for 3, 4, 5 years, and then they kind of keep blue flaming it all the way up the ladder. It's not someone who's been comfortable somewhere else and then just, wants to ride it out in another job. So
Scott Drew. I mean, what could Scott Drew do? Roll in on a Baylor bus with a Baylor national championship? At the end of the day, he would have never been able to pull the fan base together
the way that
and
Pope
energize them the way that Pope just did. And again, I am not sitting here saying Pope's going to succeed. I am not saying he's going to fail. We will find out in time. But what he does do that none of these other coaches could do outside of Dan Hurley, I think, is truly energize this fan base.
And, and then we got another comment that said Scott Drew didn't turn it down, his family did. And that very well could have been it. But I'm telling you right now, if they're tracking planes and your family lands in Lexington and they find out what it's like to really be here, and you're sitting and having lunch at a Mexican restaurant, that all of a sudden the phone's blowing up and there's 700 new reviews on Facebook or whatever because of that, and you don't want to handle that, it's better that Kentucky fans know that now than had Scott Drew come here and then understand what's really like to happen when it happens.
Exactly.
So
let's get back to the phone lines. We got Ritter waiting on hold, I believe.
Oh, okay. Let's go.
Ritter, you're on. Go ahead.
Go.
Yes, sir.
Yep. So I want to walk through my feelings. I think it kind of might be reflective of all the Kentucky fans. So when he was announced, I don't know what night it was, I think my reaction was kind of like a jaw on the floor. I think they're probably the same way. But I think the biggest thing with that decision, now that we know the hindsight is, and my biggest issue was the whole Billy Donovan thing. Was he asked? Was he wasn't? I think that was my first kind of being upset about the process. So if we work under the assumption that Billy Donovan wasn't interested, we may not never know the truth, but let's just assume he is. Then we go to that second tier of coaches. So then from now we know with Mitch, and I don't know why we overlooked this, but his history was he wasn't going to take anyone with any baggage. So that eliminates Miller, which I didn't want, Pearl, and Beard. So then when you're left with it, did we really strike out if you know that now? Because like I said, my opinion swayed a lot in the last 3 or 4 days. So I don't think we're too bad with the Mark Pope. Like I said, I think he plays an innovative offense. I think it's something that we've all clamored for. I don't think it's going to be the stubbornness that we've gone through with Cal. And then I think, as you all could say, it's just going to come down if he gets players. I think the X's and O's is fine. And if the NIL and the money is the most important thing, then I think he's going to succeed. If he can get the players in here, I think the basketball-wise, he's going to be all right. And I think the one thing is he's not a national championship coach like all these tier one guys, we want to call that. But he's won a championship. He gets it. He understands it. So I think that's the next best thing.
I actually think you summed up the way I feel almost 100%. I was surprised. I wasn't going to sit here and say I was disappointed when Pope was announced. I was surprised. I wanted to let it soak in. It was something I had not really considered, but I think your thought process is spot on. Knowing that if I wanted to know if Billy Donovan actually got hired or asked and not, and I don't think we will ever know that. I totally agree with you on the assessment of the other guys that Mitch was not going to go get someone with any baggage whatsoever. And then when you look at who's left, why not take the guy who wants to be here, who understands the tradition, and like you said, is maybe not won a championship as a coach, but has won a championship as a player. And I also don't want to overlook the fact that he made that transition into the Big 12 in a very successful way and knocked off some of those big boys and one of the toughest basketball conferences in America. And it's not like we're getting someone who just coached at a mid-major level. He had to coach big boy basketball last year, and he did it in a very successful way. And actually, according to KenPom, finished ahead of Kentucky with far less talent.
And just looking at his metrics on Torvik, I mean, 14th in adjusted offensive efficiency, 23rd in effective field goal percentage, 21st in defensive rebound rate. So, I mean, that right there, one of the huge issues for Kentucky under Cal repeatedly year after year was giving up offensive rebounds. And then if you look at the last 10 games of the season, so, you know, when it's crunch time, 26th in offensive efficiency. He was 6 and 7 in games against teams that went to the tournament. So obviously you'd like to see that improve, but you know, he wasn't losing to those teams. He was 3 and 4 quad 1 this season, 4 and 0 quad 3, and 8 and 0 in quad 4, which automatically is better than Cal because, you know, he's not losing the UNC Wilmington types. He beat Baylor by 7 at home. They lost to Iowa State by 5 at Iowa State, which we know what Iowa State was this year.
And that's a tough place to play.
Yeah, they beat Texas by 12. They beat Iowa State at home by 15. So, I mean, this is, and then you go and look at, let's see how they did against Houston. Lost by 7 at home to Houston, which isn't, you know, it's Houston. Houston was what they were this year. But that's a team that, like you said, they took that step up in conference play and they competed. This is a guy who's not going to get out-coached by many other coaches in terms of X's and O's, which is one of the biggest issues we had with Cal, was watching him just get dog-walked by any other coach who could draw up a play.
And one last thing, and I'll hop off here, guys. As a Kentucky fan that lives in the area, this is what you're going to get from Louisville fans. Oh, everyone wins a press conference. You know, he was not going to fail, no matter what he said. Listen, you watch what you saw tonight, and then you watch what you saw last week when you have Dixie Highway, Ted Lasso talking to the Suntan City CEO, trying to raise money. It ain't the same, guys, and they know it. They proved it tonight. The national media was quiet. Kentucky's still on top. Louisville's still little brother.
I'll tell you what, too, just going back to the whole concept of we got one person who's on social right now just talking about trying to compare this to Kenny Payne. It's got Patrick Ewing, Mike Woodson, Kenny Payne all returned home to coach as champions and former NBA players also. The one thing that those guys did not have was previous college basketball head coaching experience. Now, Woodson has been a head coach in the NBA. Kenny Payne, Patrick Ewing's never were head coaches. They were just assistant coaches. And at the end of the day, I don't think Woodson's story's done. We'll tell this year if he's going to stay at Indiana or not. But Mark Pope has won and has navigated the college basketball scene. He has won in a major conference in college basketball. So it's totally different in my eyes.
Because every head coach that played for their school and went on to coach their school has failed, like Hubert Davis.
Right. John Shire. Well, maybe he is going to fail.
I don't know that I use Shire yet, but especially Big Rig might not agree with that one. But I mean, Hubert Davis didn't have head coaching experience. He was an assistant under Roy Williams. So, I mean, he learned from one of the best. And then he took over and he goes on, and has pretty damn good success, I'd say. So again, I am not going to sit here and say I'm bought in just like I would have been if this would have been the hire a week from now. The issue that most UK fans had, again, was the perceived notion of we went from talking to the 3 best candidates probably that we could get, skipping a whole bunch of other ones that UK fans would have at least liked to have gotten a conversation with, and going straight to Mark Pope, when we know Mark Pope would have taken this job in a week. There are a lot of issues with Mitch Barnhart, and for those that have been living under a rock the last few days, go to The Athletic, read the article. Oh, we've got some people, that have texted about Mitch, but
we got a lot of people on the social media side too.
And he got booed when he came out. He got booed, as he should be. But people were not upset about Mark Pope. There were a lot of people that were upset that we went straight to him, and there were a lot of people that were upset because they don't follow BYU basketball. Most people don't. But the other thing to keep in mind, and somebody pointed this out, Twitter is a very small minority. You saw today, there are a lot of UK fans that are absolutely in love with this hire. So we will find out, as Bobby V always says, let the cake bake, or as James Strebel says, let the bacon sizzle, which is dropping that one this week. We will find out. What I do know is that we've got a coach that fills a lot of the boxes that we asked for when this whole thing started. We've got a guy who understands what the job means, who wants the job, who doesn't have to, unlike those other guys, he doesn't have to be talked into the job. And for all these U of L fans that are comparing the two hires, do you know what I saw today that I didn't see when PK got hired? I didn't see a national championship banner. I didn't see former national championship winners coming off the bus with the trophy. I didn't see a hero of the program coming back home. So you can compare all the things you want to. You can compare the press conferences. Our coach walked out, reminded the people of what the school used to be and what it still could be, and talked about how he was going to win. One coach came out and gave you a whole bunch of fancy catchphrases and quoted other people. I know which coach I'm more excited about.
Got a guy that understands family, understands BB and his family. He made that connection several times, which I thought was fantastic. To be fair, most of them have failed, like 80%, but maybe he is different. We're getting Coach Pope show more love, understand what basketball had been missing at Kentucky. Some will laugh, some will say he's not a top 5 coach in the country. Y'all just watch. We'll see what happens there. We got Gary on the phone lines. Let's go to line 1. Let's get Gary. Again, if you want to call in, 502-267-9680 is the phone line. Let's hear what your thoughts are about Mark Pope.
Hey guys, what's up?
What's going on, Gary?
Listen, I don't know how things are going to go in the future. Nobody does. I'm going to be rooting like heck for this guy. I think he understands the program. He understands the tradition. He understands what is important to Kentucky program and the Kentucky fan base. He's lived it. He's not only lived it. He's won a national title here, captained that team. He's also been an NBA player, knows what it takes to get to the NBA. So if nothing else, guys, we have got a rejuvenation of this program. Our program, let's just face it, it's been stale for the last few years, absolutely stale. Alabama, Auburn, and Tennessee have jumped in front of us in the SEC as far as, total wins probably in the last 2-3 years, whatever. So I think that eventually, if he hires the right people on his coaching staff, the guy's smart as heck. I mean, anybody's getting to medical school, you got to be smart to do that. So I know that has nothing to do with basketball. I understand that, but still, he understands. And like you guys were talking about a while ago, listen, that BYU team he had last year was a good basketball team.
Really
they were
good
good. They beat some really good teams. They beat some really good teams last year. And no, he is not somebody coming from mid-major. He has coached at the big boy level. No, he hadn't won an NCAA tournament game because he hadn't been anywhere to win an NCAA tournament game until last year. And so listen, I don't know how good it's going to be. I'm hoping for the best. But I am so glad the NBA farm system is out of here. Goodbye, good riddance. I'm so sick of listening to how many NBA players we got, how many this, how many that. I'm sick of it. I'm fed up with it. Most of the fan base is. Guys, if a player is good enough to make the NBA, he will make the NBA, and he will be noticed, especially at a school like Kentucky. So that's the way I feel about it anyway.
I couldn't agree more, Gary. Gary's been one of our all season long guys, and so we appreciate you calling in tonight, Gary. Good call. And again, he addressed every single concern I think Kentucky fans have had during the Cal era, and how he understands what this program is and how that needs to be different. And that's it. So
Texter says, and this is a good point. Pope had zero apprehensions or fear coming back into Rupp. He's the voice we needed to hear because Cal lost his voice at the end of his career.
He was almost swaggy about it, wasn't he? I mean, he knows what the expectation is, and he was the one setting the expectation bar so high, not anybody else. We're getting a Just Love Rupp, and it was lit as I've ever seen it. I got chills. Ence, I gotta admit something to you. I cried a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I cried a little bit. Seeing all those guys come off the bus like that, I got a little misty-eyed. So anyway.
That's going to be replayed on every show tomorrow. I hope you know that.
It's okay.
Thank you, Mike.
I'm gonna own
it. You'll notice, James, I laid all the way out on that one.
Yeah, thank you, Jason.
I rolled the chair back about as far as I could without breaking the headphones off the microphone.
I got a little just nostalgic, just kind of kicked in, and eyes got a little teary. It's okay. So, anything else go on the text on?
I'm just making sure we got that clean.
Mm-hmm.
Texter says, seeing those ex-cats come on. Oh gosh. Now they're going to think this is going to get taken out of context. The texter says, seeing those ex-cats come off the bus almost. And again, this is the texter saying he was almost in tears, that he's 50. His teenage kids don't know any of them besides Jeff because of Reed. Does that worry either of you that possible recruits don't know anything about our tradition in Kentucky because it was so long ago and based off the last several bad years? Wonder what Pope said to Mitch right before saying Richie Farmer's name with the long pause. I was wondering if he was asking for permission when that happened. I meant to mention that. If he was asking, can I say Richie's name? He's a former criminal. Look, our tradition does not go back that far.
No,
our tradition is long term. Our tradition
does go back
having
that
a
far.
National champ. No, I'm saying you don't have to go that far back to see our
Right.
tradition. Mark Pope is a guy who can bridge that old tradition with the new philosophy. He can bring people into that building and show them what he has accomplished as a player. That is an advantage that we talk about these former players that come back to their schools. That is an advantage that very few coaches have, that they can point to the rafters and say, I know what it takes to win a national championship. I know the sacrifices that it requires. I know the things you have to give up, the extra hours you have to put in the gym, the extra work you have to put in studying your opponent. I know personally what it takes, and I'm not going to ask you to do something that I wasn't willing to do myself. You've played for coaches before, Mike. I've played for coaches before. When a coach is able to tell you and show you that he understands the things he's asking you to give up, the time with friends, the time with girlfriends, the time going out and partying, to achieve a goal that you ultimately want and achieve something that's greater than yourself. It's different when it comes from a coach who just gives it lip service and tells you, well, you need to do this, versus a coach who can tell you and show you, I've been there and I know what this means, and I'm still asking you to do it.
I'm sure that picture of him holding that trophy in '96 coming off the bus will be somewhere in his office really big. So when he meets with recruits, kids will be able to see that, and he'll be able to kind of relate with them on that level and paint the picture of what it's like when they get that moment. That's what recruiting really kind of comes down to. And when you can paint the picture of like, this is what it's going to be like, this is what it's going to sound like, this is what it's going to feel like, this is how you're going to be remembered. All those kind of things like that are just things that are really going to take it to the next level. And they're gonna be successful, man. He's gonna do it. Some people are saying we're acting like he's John Wooden. Pump the brakes there, man. We're
compared to Cal, he is.
Yeah, we're just waiting to see. Like, we have literally not had a guy who's done any X and O's. Hasn't taught grade school defense in a long time. So, all right, Michael's still on line 3. You there, James?
Yes.
All right, let's go to Michael on line 3.
Yeah. Hey, what's going on?
Hey, man, how you doing tonight?
I thought that I might have a little different perspective because the last Kentucky basketball game I watched was when Jamal Murray and Kentucky lost to Indiana. And I stopped watching because I couldn't put up with Cal's one and done stuff anymore. I was too invested. It was borderline having heart attacks over people who could care less about being Kentucky basketball players. And they started talking about Cal was gone and who were they going to bring back. And in my mind, I'm thinking about Pelfrey and Travis Ford, wishing that those dudes had worked out because that's who I grew up loving. And it's too bad that they weren't coaching and doing anything because that would have been real nice. And they're like, oh, what about Mark Pope? I'm like, I didn't even know Mark Pope was in the game. Please let it be Mark Pope. Let it be somebody that understands. Because in the history of coaching, there hasn't been one that had done less with more than John Calipari. And I mean, to see him gone has just, I have just reinvigorated to love Kentucky basketball again, like I did my whole life, from all the way through the 90s and the Tubby and Patino and, everything until Cal came and just turned it into corporate. How much money can we make for these high school hoopers? And I mean, it's just the best thing that could have happened to Kentucky basketball to bring in a dude like Pope.
I agree. And by the way, he still might bring in Pelfrey from what I heard. That there's a chance that they're just going to put in a former Kentucky player on his staff, whether it's Scott Padgett, whether it's John Pelfrey. John Pelfrey is still coaching right now in Tennessee, but he hadn't done so well. He's still got a job, but it has not gone very well. And John Pelfrey's one of those guys that might just be a fantastic assistant and maybe not cut out to be a great head coach. He was at the top. He was at Arkansas for a while. That place kind of got him. So we'll see what happens. And of course, Travis Ford's still at St. Louis. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't be surprised to see Pelfrey back on the sidelines with Mark Pope. And those are guys right there that just fully understand what this program means to this state and to the fan base and the expectations that need to be upheld because of it. And I'd be all about it. So we'll see what happens on that one. Michael, thanks for calling. I appreciate you very much, man. All right, man. Anything on the text line, Ence?
Yeah, 437-9680 UPS Jobs text line. Texter says Camelot is back. Texter says, have you seen the video of him ripping off his suit and then doing the Cats chant?
Yes, that was
really
very
think
corny.
This corny crap is going to relate to recruits. It's like your creepy uncle trying to be cool. Good luck with all that. Well, here's the difference. Yes, it was exceptionally corny. It wasn't to connect with recruits. It was to reconnect with fans. That video was to connect with fans of that 96 title team. It wasn't to connect with 18-year-old or 17-year-old players. That's what you don't grasp. There is a difference between him doing a video for a memorial video for UK fans versus what he would do with players. And again, it goes back to what I just talked about. He can bring players in, show them all the players that have gone to the pros from the NBA, because guess what? John Calipari is not the only coach that can put guys in the NBA, and people are going to watch Kentucky basketball. This whole DeMarcus Cousins crap, that's a whole other discussion.
Oh.
But kids are going to get attention when they go to UK. But he can, again, point to the rafters and tell them, I've led a team as the team captain to a national championship. I know the stress that goes along with getting to that level. I know what it takes, the sacrifice, the hard work, the tough games that you have to win to get to that level. That is how you recruit players. You recruit players by showing them what you've already done as a player. You show them what you can do as a coach. You show them a style of basketball that is fun and that is modern and is not this dumb dribble drive crap that John Calipari refused to get away from. You bring in former players who have played in the NBA. They may not have played in the NBA in the 20s. They may not have played in the NBA in the teens. But Tony Delk scored 70 points in an NBA game, if I'm not mistaken,
73.
60. Antoine Walker played in the NBA for a long time. There are guys on that team that have made Nazir Muhammad played 14 years in the NBA. There are guys that he can bring in that aren't John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins. And by the way, John Wall is still completely bought into UK. You think he was talking about it the other day. Those guys will still come back too. So it's not just about a corny video he did for UK fans that was made for UK fans. He's not going to be doing that for recruits.
I would love to see a full list of basketball alums that were in attendance, because you couldn't, first off, I couldn't recognize everybody. You recognize, the big ones, Derek was there and Prickett and all that kind of stuff. But
I saw DA, I saw Delk. I saw Rex Chapman for whatever.
Rex Chapman was next to DA and Prickett. Yep.
Yeah, I didn't need him there. I'm sure he was there.
He's part of the lore, man. He's still part of the lore,
Yeah, he go tweet dogs, bro, some more. That's all you're good at, Rex. I saw Goose obviously was there.
I cried
Richie,
a little bit.
Obviously.
Thanks, James.
Oh, James had to be just rubbing his hands with glee over there when you acknowledge
So I just had
that
to make
one.
sure it was ready to go.
That's all right.
That'll be played within 5 minutes of the open of the show for Rummage and Maven tomorrow. Guarantee it.
That's fine. That's all right.
But no, again, UK fans are excited, and that's all you could ask for from this hire. There are bigger names we could have gotten. There are better coaches, arguably, that we could have gotten. But I don't know outside of Dan Hurley that you would have gotten this much buy-in this fast and that you would have gotten this much excitement. I do hate the fact that there was such negativity around the hire, and that was not his fault. That was Mitch Barnhart's fault. Again, it goes back to how the decision was made. But if he succeeds, nobody will care about that.
All right.
Also, by the way, for people that care, Scotty Scheffler's now up 2 shots with on the 17th. So it looks like he's strolling to a Masters.
He's at 4 shots.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
He's up 4 shots with 2 holes left, but on the 17th.
So he's going to win his second green jacket, it looks like, unless he has a complete and total meltdown. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right. So, again, the phone line's 502-267-9680. If you have any.
We got John up next.
We got John up. Oh, that's just sitting in. John, let's go to line 1. John.
Hey, guys.
John.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you. Go for it, man.
We got you.
All right, cool. Man, as a UK fan, could we have had a cleaner breakup with Coach Cal? Is my first question. Because, ultimately we were going to break up at some point because he would never retire. And I'm just wondering, curious to hear your all's input on the breakup. And then secondly, how much better of a recruiter can Pope be with the name on the front of the jersey being Kentucky and not BYU? And I'll just listen to y'all's answers.
I think he can be, with the resources he's going to have in Kentucky, I think he's going to be a tremendously more efficient as a recruiter at BYU. There's not a ton of coaches out there. Cal can go there and say how many guys he put in the NBA, whatever else. And I'm still not 100% sure that some of those guys that Cal recruited at Kentucky are the guys that Mark Pope would have had at Kentucky. At the end of the day, I think Mark Pope understands the balance he's going to have with the roster, and all that stuff will play out the way he needs to. He'll I think, going back to Ennis said this on Louis' show last week, like, the next trend in basketball that's going to be very popular is if you can have a coach that can have a group of guys that's together for 3 years, they're probably going to be able to beat some teams that are more talented, that are just thrown together in 1 year. And if you ever go to these major AAU tournaments, it's rarely the team that's got all these 5-star kids on it that wins these AAU tournaments. It's these teams that have been playing together since the 5th grade. Those are the ones that win the AAU tournaments. Now, no college coaches are there watching their games because they're playing a system. They have a system and they execute the system. But at the end of the day, they're the ones who end up winning those championships. And so I think we're going to see something very similar, that we're going to have cores of guys that are going to get better from freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, maybe even senior year. We might actually have, senior years that matter, of guys that were there for 4 years that we got to know and all that other kind of stuff as a foundation to bring in the Jamal Mashburns, to bring in the 1 or 2 top level talents, and then have a couple of the local kids on the roster who understand how important it is to play at Kentucky and all that other kind of stuff. I think it could be great. It's just going to be a different mix than what we've been used to. And that's okay. It's okay if we don't have 4 McDonald's All-Americans. If we have 1 and 3 other guys that are going to stay for 3 years, then they buy into what the whole experience that Kentucky's all about. And as far as the breakup with Cal goes, I think it depends on what version of the breakup you think that actually happened. I guess the cleanest breakup that could have happened is if he would have just rode out the entire thing until 2029. They didn't renew his contract, and he just rode off into the sunset.
No, the cleanest breakup that could have happened was him just walk away at the end of the season and not drag this out for 2 more weeks.
That's true. I mean, that's probably true too, but his pride was not going to allow that to happen.
And then not actually acknowledge that he was leaving until the very last second, so that UK couldn't actually go and get new coach in place and start recruiting.
He did not leak it. Just remember that. No matter what you heard, he did not leak it.
Well, of course he did, and he had someone else do it.
That leak didn't come
Which,
from his
by the way,
people.
that's a whole other discussion of, Dwayne Peavy. I hope it was worth it. You just lost your dream job.
I do love the fact that Cal coming off that plane in Arkansas looked like a real live action Schitt's Creek episode.
I said the other night he looked like somebody reporting for prison.
So at the end of the day, like, I think that, I don't think it was a total clean breakup with Cal. I think from the fan base standpoint is exactly what we needed to happen. I do believe that Cal tried to make a power play with the Arkansas flirtation, and it backfired on him, and he didn't really want to be down there. After seeing that opening presser and him coming off the plane, it's going to be very interesting to see how short-lived that Arkansas experience is.
There's everybody's like, oh, he's revived. No, he's not. He's saying the exact same things he's been saying at UK the last couple of years. He spent half the press conference like a boyfriend at dinner who talks on a first date that talks about his ex-girlfriend the whole time.
Yep.
I can't remember who tweeted that. It might have been Ennis, but it was absolutely spot on. It was the perfect analogy. He looked miserable. There were 50 people in attendance. I mean, you go and look at the photos. Speaking of attendance, by the way, and photos, our guy Corey Price, I did not know this. Do you remember the Billy Gillespie press conference? The two guys that had the blue wigs on.
Not really, no.
The blue fuzzy wigs.
Okay.
That were like huge Afro wigs.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
One of them was Corey Price. Him and his friend Jordan, and they wore them again today.
There you go. The only
Hopefully
difference,
we get better results.
Well, there's a whole lot more people that were at this press conference than were at Billy Gillespie's press conference. My daughter texted me.
I'm sending you the tweet right now so you can see the photo. You'll remember as soon as you see the photo.
My daughter reporting in that there were people who had to sit in the stairways, like in the aisles, because there was no seats actually left.
Oh, Kent Taylor sent a photo. There were people lined up in the concourse like they were trying to come down the steps.
Yeah.
It was standing room only. They did not expect to have that many people.
And Big Blue Nation showing up the way that they always show up, and that's why we're having these 2-hour shows, 2.5-hour shows now going on after the in April, even though the Masters is going on, about hiring a head coach. And I'm guessing that the Reds got preempted today, so the Reds fans out there, the Reds did end up winning 11-4 to sweep the Chicago White Sox.
Did Ellie De La Cruz hit a double?
Did you have that in the
for
gambling?
Recreational purposes only? Did Ellie De La Cruz hit a double?
I'm pulling it up right now. Ellie De La Cruz actually went 0 for 5, so we might have
he did
seen.
Not have a double.
We saw his streak of on base games with getting on base come to an end today, I guess. So,
Texter says it's funny how when Kelsey makes a video for the fans, UK people called him a hype cheerleader, but when Pope does it, it's awesome. Can't wait till the season starts. Diener made a good point on Twitter earlier, and I kind of want to expound on it. He pointed out that it's going to be nice to have two coaches who give a damn about their jobs.
Yeah,
who actually care about the jobs. I'm going to take it a little step further, though. It has been, 15 years? I'm trying to remember when Pitino got hired.
When Pitino got hired at U of L?
At U of L.
I was
2001.
Yeah.
Was it 2001?
Yeah. Yeah, it's 20.
So it's been 22 years since this rivalry was fun. Because this rivalry, when I was a kid and growing up, it was fun. It wasn't hateful. And there was a long stretch after Pitino took the job where it was hateful. And it started to kind of die down a little bit towards the end of Tubby's time. And then Cal came in and just added fuel to the fire. And this rivalry got mean and it got nasty. And it took U of L getting down in the dumps for it to stop being mean and nasty, because at some point you can't keep kicking a dead horse and getting anything from it. I want this rivalry to be fun again. I want us to win every game, but I want it to be fun again. I don't want it to be this nasty, hateful, people saying disgusting things to you on Twitter type rivalry. And these two coaches seem like they're guys who want to have fun with their jobs and who can poke a bit at the other fan base without being mean and nasty like Cal and Pitino were. And I really hope for this community and for this rivalry that we can get that back again, because it's so much fun when both teams are good. It's so much fun when we have 2 weeks of buildup leading up to that game, and it's not a predetermined, Kentucky's going to win. Kenny Payne sucks. Strebel taking the day off of the game.
Blanket Baker's going to complain about the officials.
Well, it's still going to happen.
Oh, that's right.
On. Yeah. Come on. Blake's got to play the hits, as Diener says.
Yeah.
But it's going to be fun to have two coaches who want to win, who understand what they're about the fans. Both of these coaches seem to be about the fans, and they know that this rivalry is important to the fans. Mark Pope especially. He lived it. I want this rivalry to be enjoyable again and to be entertaining and to have national attention and to be the marquee game of the college basketball calendar, because it's once a year. It's for all the bragging rights in this area. Don't give me this Duke, North Carolina crap where they play each other 15 times and then they go have wine together afterwards at the country club. I want this rivalry to be fun again.
So you're saying you want Louisville to be good?
No, I want them to be good, and then I want us to beat them by 20. It helps our net rankings.
I'm with you, man. You know how I feel about it. I talk about it all the time. I'm the exact same way. I think listen, you're not going to see me making fun of Pat Kelsey. So, all those texters out there, I actually feel like that's a great hire for them. And I think he's going to do really good things. That guy, he does a show at 3:00 on the weekdays. You can call in on that one. So, by the way, the two times that I guess Mark Pope played in that rivalry, and they were fourth in the country, they won 89-66. And then the second time in Freedom Hall, Kentucky won 74-54 in 1995 and 1996, respectively, which have been the 95-96 season, 96-97 season. So those are the two Mark Pope games against Louisville. Louisville did get them the next year, though, 79-76 in 1997. That was the year that Kentucky won the national title. And no, you know what? Then we must have been, because he was a senior. Then I'm going to regress. Pope's first year at Kentucky, they lost to Louisville 88-86. They won the second year. That's what it was. Okay, so when was the last time that Louisville won as a ranked team in the rivalry?
2019.
It was 2016. 2019, Kentucky won. Louisville won in 2020, but they weren't ranked.
Yeah, 2020. I thought we were ranked 2020.
Yeah. 2016 was the last time. So
when you say 2020, you're talking about 2019, 2020, or 2020?
It was 2019. It was 2020, 2021. It was the game was December 26, 2020. I'm just looking at all the UK U of L games throughout history. So all right. Again, the phone lines are still open, 502-267-9680. If you guys don't want to call in, we'll probably start wrapping it up here. Anything on the text line?
Yeah, texter's taking me his ass saying, "What are you talking about? Patino and Cal made this rivalry fun. The vitriol was golden." No, it didn't make it fun. It wasn't fun. It was fun for us because we just kept beating the crap out of Patino. Sure, in that aspect, it was fun. It was fun watching U of L completely flail. But in terms of like going to work and having fun with buddies and interaction on social media, again, you got to understand, I'm looking at it from the radio station perspective, not necessarily just the fan base perspective. I'm kind of melding the two together. It's a better rivalry when it's fun, because I don't enjoy getting called nasty names on Twitter just because I root for a school in blue. I enjoy banter. I enjoy smack talk. I enjoy, the give and take and talking trash. And then afterwards we go out and we have a beer together or whatever. I enjoy that. I don't enjoy what KSR built their thing on. Katina Powell, strippers, this, dorm rooms, that's not rivaling to me. That's taking some really, bad stuff, some really just down in the gutter type stuff and stabbing people with it repeatedly. That's not fun to me. If it's fun to you, then I digress. We all have different things we enjoy, but I enjoy banter and actual, wittiness, not lowest common denominator type humor of Katina Powell, strippers, that's not what this rivalry is about. This rivalry is about two programs with an extremely rich basketball tradition. This is about two programs with fan bases that I would argue are among the 5 most passionate in college basketball. And I want to get back to that because it's good for this area. It's good for talk radio in this area. It's good for the national attention. I mean, when was the last time UK U of L was marquee?
Where it mattered.
It's been a couple years.
Yeah.
I want that back. I want primetime Saturday afternoon CBS, not 2 days before New Year's while everybody's locked in on bowl season.
I'm with you, Ence. Let's go to Ryan on line 1. Ryan, what's up, man? Ryan, are you there?
Take yourself off mute, Ryan.
Okay.
Fall asleep.
I don't know what happened.
James,
Ryan,
did you toggle the line?
But we can't hear.
Ryan, try calling back, I guess. I don't know. We'll hold on to see if Ryan can get on. Again, the phone line 502-267-9680. Ence, I think go ahead.
I was going to say, by the way, Texter brings up a good point. He says, I've seen where DeMarcus Cousins said Big Blue won't show out like it has with Cal being gone. Rupp was full of Kentucky fans. Wasn't an away team crowd, all BBN. Cousins obviously doesn't know and never did know true Big Blue, did he?
That's fair. And some of his comments were just so off base. I mean, it was listen, I'm grateful for the national championship Cal brought here. I'm grateful for how he rejuvenated the fan base in a very dark time the way he did. I'm grateful for all of the disaster relief stuff he did and how he highlighted different parts of the state, and from the tornadoes in Western Kentucky to the coal miner, all that kind of stuff. I'm grateful for all that stuff that Cal did. And I don't want those things to go lost. I hope Cal gets a chance to come back to Kentucky and to celebrate it at some point. It was just my whole thing is that had just run its course. It was just over.
I worry the Pitino stuff was because he took the job at U of L and things kind of got nasty. Going back to what I was saying earlier, Cal may have hurt himself too much to where he can't come back because of the shots he took on the way out the door. Pitino didn't do that. Pitino, as much as everything got sour with UK fans of Pitino, I don't remember Pitino intentionally going out of his way to take shots at the UK fan base. I don't remember him intentionally going out of his way to take shots at the administration. Yes, he did the whole flipping off fans, but that was part of a rivalry situation. That wasn't him taking another job. That would have been like Pitino going to the Celtics and being like, you know what? I did the best I could at UK, but the administration didn't help me at all, and those fans suck. That's essentially what Cal did on his way out the door, and he didn't need to do that. But his ego is so big that he had to do it.
Administration.
And I don't know. It took Bill Kitely passing away for that bridge to finally be fixed of welcoming Pitino back into the fold, or at least extending an olive branch. I don't know what it would take for Cal at this point, because I think more UK when Pitino went to the Celtics, UK fans rooted for him. Every UK fan I know is waiting for him to crash and burn at Arkansas. And it's going to happen, and it's going to be glorious.
It is going to be glorious. All right, we got Chris on line 1. Chris, go ahead, man.
Yeah, man. I'm not even a UK fan. I'm a Louisville fan. But honestly, just having 2 new coaches, it just resets the rivalry. I think it's way more positive than it was, like you all were saying. I think Pope is a good X and O coach. If he's got Pitino back in the fold, Pitino's full of it, obviously, but we all know that. But I'm just saying, I think the dude will be able to actually coach X's and O's and with the resources, just like Louisville's coach Kelsey. I mean, I got tired of Pitino and Calipari when they were there together. Honestly, it made it no fun.
A little too much ego, a little too much everything. Yeah.
Well, yeah, people making death threats to whatever, and just stupid shit.
All right.
Whoa.
Hopefully James got that dumped. We are on the radio.
Yeah, we are on the radio today.
If we're doing Twitter Spaces, that'd be all good. If Mike's not cussing, then you all don't cuss. That kind of thing. We just need to remember that as a general rule.
James, you got that sound available, by the way?
Yeah, which one?
The Mike Gandolfo Twitter Spaces rant from a week ago tonight.
What are we picking on Mike Day? What's going on?
No, I think it perfectly epitomizes how much things have changed from 7 days ago.
Especially when you followed up with I cried a little bit. Oh man,
I cried a little bit.
Oh, James.
By the way, thank you, James, for stepping in. I was unable. I had some car issues this morning that hopefully will be not too bad tomorrow. So obviously couldn't come down and produce. But James immediately jumped in and said, "Yeah, I can be available." And I think everybody at the station appreciates that.
Well, James,
no problem.
And what's speaking of
That's
that,
why James is the station MVP.
He definitely is. And
we're getting a Just Love Rupp, and it was lit as I've ever seen it. I got chills. I'm gonna, Ence, I gotta admit something to you. I cried a little bit.
I love the silence.
James, what did you?
No, you got the sound from last week though, where he from our Twitter Spaces where he's just going
that was on the
It was on the mixtape. Yeah. While he's doing that, Texter says it'll be so nice to actually have a team to cheer on for years to come, and not just one and done superstars. We can actually have a relationship with the UK team. Look, I'm fine with one and done. If they come in here and they do the job and they're ready to go pro, I'm good with it. I don't think that's ever been necessarily my issue with Cal. Texas says Pope is absolutely the right guy at the right time. No matter what happens, he's the perfect hire for this time. The crowd at Rupp and the emotional response all over social media and the callers on the shows tell you this is exactly what BBN wants and needs. How could you not offer a guy like this a job? That's the question when someone questions his hire. The other thing that I'll add to that is the people that he connects with the most in terms of bringing up the 96 team and bringing those players are the people who have money. He's the perfect coach to hire for that purpose, for bringing in NIL money. Because Scott Drew would have brought in NIL. I guarantee you he wouldn't have brought in the NIL that Mark Pope is.
The other part about what was just said is like the perfect coach for right now. Like, let's just even say that it's moderately successful, but it just doesn't work out, and Pope's here for 4 or 5 years, and that's all we get from him and whatever else. You know, that 4 or 5 years could be super important to kind of bridging that gap of the healing that needed to happen for us to win at the next level with the next guy. And that very well could. We talked about that at length during the coaching search about having this kind of bridge the gap kind of coach. I hope that's not the case. I hope we have Mark Pope for 10 years. And I don't know, going back to what we've talked about before, I don't know if this job is meant to have someone there longer than 10 years. But I hope he's successful, and I think he can be. So, all right, go ahead, James.
When you get to postseason play, you got to amp it up a notch. And if you're not ready to play in the SEC tournament, you're telling me right now that you're not ready to play in any tournament, and that's why you get bounced early in both. And that's why we have 2 postseason wins, one in the SEC tournament, one in the NCAA tournament, in the last 5 seasons. 2 postseason wins, not in 1 season, in 5 years. And I'm not okay with that.
By the way,
followed up a week later with
that's our job.
I can't get to that.
We're here to win banners. That's our job. We're here to win banners. That's our job. That's what it is. Oh, love it. We're getting a little like back and forth on the YouTube channel going on here with it's getting a little contentious. So anyway.
Well, I think you just said we can start wrapping this up here.
I think so. It's 7:00. Scheffler's about to win the Masters. And Jason, I think we had a good show.
Lined up his putt.
Yeah. Appreciate James. Appreciate James. Do you have any takes on this whole thing?
No, I don't. I agree with you. I'm ready for the new rivalry.
The new rivalry. There it is. And we're going to be here for it the whole way soon. You know, we'll be back with football teams. And, of course, the basketball next season as well.
Well played, James Black. Well played. And 12 hours from now, we have Drew Diener. Diener, and I'm sure Mark Blankenbaker will not have any thoughts at all. He'll want to talk about, completely other stuff. I know he won't have anything at all to say about today's press conference.
Hey, we appreciate you, the fans. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining the conversation either way you did. And we'll talk to you guys real soon. Go Cats.
Go Cats.